Most people miss life-changing opportunities because they don't know how to read the room or respond the right way. Social intelligence isn't about being smooth or charming. It's about paying attention, understanding people, and knowing how to react in real time. Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, "I could have handled that better"? That's the gap this video is here to close. When you understand how to connect with people, everything in your life improves. Your relationships, your work, your confidence, your influence. This isn't about fake smiles or rehearsed lines. It's about being aware, being honest, and learning how to show up with clarity and confidence. In this audiobook, I'll show you how to develop social intelligence the right way by practicing it every single day and turning your weaknesses into strengths. If you're ready to become someone others respect and trust, stay with me. This will change everything. Chapter 1. Master observing others carefully to understand hidden feelings. Every day you walk past people who are struggling in silence. You interact with friends, family, co-workers, and strangers who are carrying emotions they won't say out loud. Sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's shame or frustration. Most of the time, it stays hidden beneath the surface. But if you learn to observe people carefully, not just with your eyes but with your full attention, you begin to see what others miss. You start picking up the silent signals that reveal someone's true emotional state. This is the beginning of mastering social intelligence. It's not about being clever or manipulative. It's about learning how to understand people better so you can show up with clarity, presence, and strength. Social intelligence is built on awareness. And awareness begins with observation. But observation is not just noticing what is obvious. Most people observe with half their attention. They hear words, but they don't listen for tone. They see faces, but they don't notice micro-expressions. They witness actions, but they don't read into the motive. To master the art of observation, you must be fully present. You must train your mind to focus on people with intention, not distraction. This is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. The people who succeed in life, those who build strong relationships, lead others effectively, and inspire change, are the ones who understand the emotional undercurrents of every interaction. They don't guess what others are feeling. They see it, they sense it. They notice the shift in eye contact, the hesitation in voice, the stiffness in body language, and they respond wisely. They don't overreact. They don't assume. They observe, reflect, and respond from a place of calm strength. This is what makes them trusted, respected, and impactful. You don't need to become a psychologist to do this. You simply need to sharpen your senses. Observation is a form of discipline. It requires that you slow down your thoughts and give your full attention to the present moment. This means listening without thinking of what to say next. This means watching someone's face without looking through them. This means noticing not just what someone says but how they say it, what they leave out, and what their energy is communicating when their words are quiet. Most people reveal their emotions not through words but through patterns. Look for patterns. Does someone suddenly become more quiet than usual? Are they avoiding eye contact when they normally look you in the eye? Are they giving short answers where they used to speak freely? These subtle shifts are not random. They mean something, but to notice them, you must learn to become emotionally present. You must train your attention to tune in to the person in front of you as if nothing else matters in that moment. This is not easy. We are used to distraction. We're used to checking our phones, thinking about ourselves, or waiting for our turn to speak. But real observation happens when you forget yourself for a while and focus on the other person. This builds awareness. It strengthens your emotional radar. The more you do it, the better you get at reading the room, seeing through the noise, and recognizing what people feel even when they don't say it. Here's what you need to start doing today. First, whenever you talk to someone, pause before speaking. Give yourself a second to take in what they're saying and how they're saying it. Watch their face. Pay attention to their eyes, their posture, their tone. Are they open or closed? Do they seem tense or relaxed? Is their energy consistent with their words? Learn to spot inconsistencies. For example, someone might say, "I'm fine," but their shoulders are hunched, their voice is flat, and they're avoiding eye contact. That's not fine. That's pain, wearing a mask. Second, develop the habit of staying quiet for a few seconds longer than you normally would after someone speaks. People often reveal more when you create space. Most of the time, they're waiting for the next interruption, but when you hold space with silence, you give them permission to keep going. That's when truth comes out. That's when you see what's really going on. Third, start journaling what you observe about people. This isn't about judging or labeling them. It's about training your awareness. After a conversation, take a moment and reflect. What did you notice about their body language? Did their tone match their words? Were there signs of stress, anxiety, or distraction? What was the energy behind their behavior? This kind of practice sharpens your perception and makes you more emotionally intelligent over time. Observation also means paying attention to the small things. People's habits, routines, and expressions often reveal their emotional patterns. Someone who's usually punctual but starts showing up late might be overwhelmed. Someone who's always energetic but seems distant might be struggling inside. These aren't just mood swings. These are signals. But only the observant will notice. And the person who notices is the one who can respond with care, strength, or leadership. If you want to master the art of reading people, you must also learn to detach from your own emotional noise. You can't observe clearly if you're constantly caught in your own reactions. If you're judging, assuming, or reacting too quickly, you're not seeing the other person, you're projecting your own issues onto them. That's why Stoic self-mastery is essential. You must become emotionally stable, grounded, and present. Only then can you observe others with clarity. Here's a truth that will serve you well. Most people hide their real emotions because they don't feel safe. They hide behind smiles, small talk, and polite responses. If you observe closely, you'll see the mask. But instead of judging them, be the person who creates safety through calm presence. People open up when they feel seen without being judged. They open up when they feel understood without being fixed. To master social intelligence, you must become that kind of person. The most powerful observers are not those who speak a lot. They are the ones who listen deeply, watch carefully, and speak only when needed. Their strength lies in their quiet presence. Their influence comes from their ability to tune into others without needing to dominate. This kind of awareness earns trust. It builds influence. It turns shallow interactions into meaningful relationships. When you observe carefully, you don't just understand people, you help them understand themselves. You hold up a mirror for them. You give them space to explore what they might be feeling, but don't yet have words for. You offer insight, not by telling them what's wrong, but by being fully present with what they're showing. This is a rare skill. It takes practice, but it changes everything. Imagine what your relationships would look like if you mastered this. You would be able to support people without smothering them. You'd know when to speak and when to stay silent. You'd know when someone needs help and when they need space. You'd become a leader in every interaction, not by force but by presence. People would trust you more. They'd open up more. They'd feel respected, seen and valued. That's the power of observation. You can start practicing this today. Every time you speak with someone, shift your focus from yourself to them. Pay attention to what's not being said. Watch their face. Listen for tension or softness in their voice. Observe the pace and tone of their speech. Are they speaking quickly because they're anxious? Are they pausing a lot because they're unsure? Are they looking away because they're afraid? These are not details. These are keys to understanding the heart of another human being. And the more you do this, the more self-aware you become too. Observation is a two-way mirror. The better you get at noticing others, the more you start seeing your own blind spots. You start noticing when you're reacting out of ego. You catch yourself when you interrupt or dominate conversations. You become aware of how your energy affects others. This is real growth. This is how self-mastery deepens through social mastery. There will be moments when you misread people. That's okay. You're human. But every interaction is a chance to sharpen your skill. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for presence. With time, your ability to read emotional signals will become second nature. You'll notice what others ignore. You'll move through the world with a deeper understanding of people, and they will feel that. They may not say it, but they'll feel more understood around you. That's the impact of a trained observer. This skill is not only valuable, it's necessary. In a world full of noise, false appearances and surface-level interactions, the ability to observe and respond with wisdom is rare and powerful. It creates better teams, better families, better friendships, and better leaders. It builds trust where there is doubt. It creates connection where there is distance. It brings healing where there is pain. If you want to live with purpose, build strong relationships, and navigate life with clarity, then start with this one simple habit. Observe people with intention. Watch. Listen. Be still. Be aware. Stop rushing through conversations. Stop assuming you know. Get quiet inside and open your attention outward. This practice alone will transform the way you connect with others. It will help you respond with strength instead of reactivity, compassion instead of frustration, and clarity instead of confusion. This is the first step toward mastering social intelligence. Observation. Silent, focused, respectful attention. It doesn't require special talent. It requires discipline. It requires you to slow down. It requires humility. But the reward is deep. When you understand others more clearly, you live more wisely, lead more powerfully, and love more deeply. Start with your next conversation. Observe without distraction. Watch without judgment. Listen beyond the words, and respond with awareness. This is how you master the art of reading and responding to people. This is how you change your relationships. This is how you change your life. Chapter 2. Practice active listening to hear people's messages truly. You will never understand people if you keep listening only to reply instead of listening to understand. Every day, opportunities to connect, influence, and build trust are lost, not because we lack intelligence, but because we failed to listen. We think we're listening, but most of the time we're just waiting for our turn to speak. That habit distances us from real understanding. Real listening, active listening, is not passive, not automatic. It's an art, a discipline, a form of presence that demands effort and humility. To hear someone's message truly is to step into their world and let go of your need to fix, respond, or interrupt. It's about being fully there, not halfway, not distracted, but grounded in the moment. Every time someone speaks to you, they're revealing something beneath the surface. Their words are just the top layer. Their tone, rhythm, pauses, and even what they don't say, That's where the real message lives. And if you can't sit still long enough to catch it, you'll miss the part that matters most. This isn't just about being polite or seeming attentive. Active listening is a daily practice that shapes how people see you. If you're someone who truly listens, people open up. They trust you. They feel seen and heard. And when people feel understood, they become more open to what you say in return. The world is loud, filled with noise and opinions. Everybody wants to be heard, but very few know how to hear others. If you want to lead, influence, or simply deepen your relationships, you must begin with silence, not the absence of sound, but the kind of inner quiet that allows someone else's voice to rise without competition. Active listening starts here, by quieting the noise inside your own mind. It's the discipline of holding back your impulse to solve, advise, or jump in with your story. It's about making space, not just in the conversation, but in your attention. When someone talks to you, are you really present? Or are you just nodding while your thoughts race elsewhere? Are you truly engaged? Or are you filtering what they say through your assumptions and judgments? Most people listen with a goal already in mind. They want to win the argument, make their point, or prove they're right. But that approach shuts down connection. It creates resistance. It blocks empathy. If you're always trying to respond, you're not really hearing. And if you're not hearing, you're missing the one thing that could have changed everything: understanding. Active listening is the path to real influence because it gives people what they rarely get: your full attention. In a world full of distractions, attention has become a form of love. When someone feels your attention, they soften, they let down their guard. They say things they didn't plan to say. And in those moments, walls fall and real connection is built. But this only happens when you train yourself to be present without judgment. That's hard. Most people aren't used to sitting with discomfort, silence, or emotions they can't fix. But active listening isn't about fixing, it's about just being there, fully, for someone else. You'll find that the more you listen, the more people reveal, not because you're asking better questions, but because you're creating a safe space. People don't speak freely to those who rush them, interrupt them, or try to take over the conversation. They speak freely to those who wait patiently, who notice what isn't said, who follow the pauses instead of filling them. That kind of listening makes people feel respected, and respect is rare. It's not about agreeing, it's about saying, "I value your voice enough to hear it," without rushing to fix it. In personal relationships, active listening builds intimacy. It makes people feel like they matter. In professional settings, it builds respect. It makes you a better leader, manager, teammate. It turns conflict into cooperation. It turns complaints into conversations, and in moments of stress, it turns chaos into clarity. But none of this happens by accident. It requires practice. Every single day, you have to train your mind to slow down and truly hear what someone is saying, not just their words but their world. People will tell you everything you need to know if you just stay quiet long enough. That doesn't mean being passive. Active listening involves effort. You paraphrase. You reflect. You say, "So what I'm hearing is," or "It sounds like you're feeling." These small phrases let the other person know you're not just nodding. You're absorbing. You're present. And even when they get emotional, or ramble, or say something you disagree with, you don't flinch. You don't argue. You stay grounded. Because you're not here to react. You're here to understand. This takes strength. It takes discipline. You'll feel the urge to interrupt, to defend yourself, to insert your opinion. But every time you resist that urge, you grow stronger. You learn to control your reactions, and the more you do that, the more power you gain, not over others, but over yourself. That's real power. When you master the art of listening, you stop needing to prove anything. You stop trying to dominate. You realize that the quietest person in the room often has the deepest impact. There's a reason why people feel so drained after one-sided conversations. When someone isn't listening to you, you feel invisible. You feel like your words don't matter. And slowly, you stop talking. You shut down. That's the cost of poor listening: distance, disconnection, distrust. Now flip it. Think about a time when someone truly listened to you. Not with fake interest, but with real presence. How did that feel? You felt fate. You felt safe. You felt human. That's what you give others when you become a good listener. Active listening also helps you notice what's really going on beneath the surface. People often say one thing but mean another. If you're paying attention, not just to their words, but their tone, their pace, their energy, you'll pick up on what's really being said. You'll start to hear the fear behind the anger, the insecurity behind the arrogance, the pain behind the silence. And that insight changes how you respond. You stop reacting to symptoms. You start addressing the root. This awareness makes your communication sharper, cleaner, and more impactful. You don't waste time arguing with surface-level drama. You go deeper. You respond to the real issue. And because you're listening, people trust you with the truth. That trust gives you influence. But you can't fake it. You can't pretend to listen just to get your turn. People feel that. Active listening has to come from a genuine place, a commitment to be present, to be kind, to understand. As you train this skill, you'll notice your conversations change. They'll slow down. They'll become more meaningful. People will open up, and not just once. They'll come back to you again and again. Because you've become a rare kind of person, someone who listens without judgment, without rushing, without ego. You've become someone safe. And safety is what most people are starving for. In a world that's constantly talking, you've learned to hear. That's the gift. If you want to grow in life, in leadership, in relationships, in your own self-awareness, start here. Practice listening like your future depends on it, because it does. Your ability to understand people is directly tied to your ability to listen, and understanding is what opens doors. It turns strangers into allies. It turns tension into trust. It turns potential into progress. But you can't fake presence. You either give it or you don't. You might not always agree with what people say, but if you can make them feel heard, you've already built a bridge. From that bridge, you can guide, inspire, or challenge them. But only after you've listened first. You'll be surprised how much power you gain when you stop trying to talk over others and start listening beneath their words. That's how you move people, not through loud arguments or clever comebacks, but through quiet understanding. Real listening also sharpens your intuition. The more you tune in to the subtle signals people give off, the more accurately you can read the room. You start noticing changes in tone, hesitations, shifts in energy. You sense when something's off, even if nothing was said directly. That awareness gives you an edge in every area of life, from negotiation to relationships, from leadership to conflict resolution. But don't wait until high-stakes moments to practice. Do it every day. In casual chats, in team meetings, with strangers and close friends, every conversation is a training ground. Put away your phone. Make eye contact. Reflect what you've heard, pause before replying, and above all, be curious. Be genuinely curious about what the other person is feeling, not just what they're saying. That curiosity will guide your listening. It will keep you humble and open. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to make an impact. You just have to be the one who pays attention. In a noisy world, that's rare, and what's rare is valuable. Active listening is more than a skill. It's a daily decision to respect others by giving them your full presence. It's a choice to value understanding over opinion, clarity over speed, connection over ego. It's not easy, but it's worth it. You'll start noticing that people lean in when they talk to you. They feel at ease. They speak more freely. That's your sign that you're on the right path. You're becoming someone others feel safe around. That's not just a social skill. That's a form of leadership. The kind that doesn't demand attention, but earns it. The kind that doesn't dominate, but connects. The kind that changes lives, not by speaking louder, but by listening deeper. So start today. Start now. Make your next conversation a practice session. Be fully there. Resist the urge to interrupt. Don't prepare your reply while they're still speaking. Just hear them. Really hear them. And when they're done, reflect back what you heard. That one habit alone will change everything. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Master that, and your relationships, your influence, your entire life will begin to transform. Not through noise, but through understanding. Not by force, but through presence. That's the true power of active listening. Chapter 3. Develop empathy to connect deeply with others' experiences. If you want to truly lead, truly connect, and truly matter in this world, you must develop empathy, not as a concept, but as a lived, daily experience. You must learn how to see life through the eyes of someone else. Not guess, not assume, not project your story onto theirs, but feel what it's like to be them, if only for a moment. That shift in perspective will open more doors for you than any skill, any degree, or any amount of charm, because people don't want to be impressed, they want to be understood. We live in a world starving for connection, yet we often walk through life disconnected. We scroll past suffering. We judge what we don't understand. We dismiss what doesn't match our own experience. And in doing so, we build walls, walls that separate us from each other and from our own humanity. Empathy breaks those walls down. It allows you to meet people where they are without needing to change them. It doesn't mean you have to agree. It doesn't mean you have to approve. It means you're willing to feel with them, not just look at them. Every person you meet is carrying something invisible. Their pain, their fears, their regrets, their hopes. Most of the time, they won't say it, they won't show it, but it's there. And if you don't have the eyes to notice or the heart to care, you'll miss it. Empathy is the bridge between you and them. It's the silent understanding that says, I may not know exactly what you're feeling, but I'm here, I'm listening, and I care enough to try. This isn't about being soft. Empathy is strength. It takes courage to hold space for someone else's experience, without turning away, without minimizing, without judging. It takes mental and emotional discipline to sit with someone in their pain, to validate their feelings, and to make room for their truth, even when it's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where growth happens. That's where connection is born. When you practice empathy, you start to notice the details that others miss. You pick up on the subtle signs in people's voices, their body language, their energy. You begin to recognize when someone's words don't match their tone. You become attuned to what's not being said. And when you notice those things, you respond differently. You stop reacting and start relating. You don't just hear the facts, you hear the story behind them. Empathy allows you to step outside of your own world and enter someone else's without judgment. That shift changes everything. It deepens your relationships, it improves your communication, it diffuses tension, and it creates an environment where people feel safe enough to be real. And let's be honest, real is rare these days. Most people wear masks. Most conversations stay surface level, but empathy cuts through all that. It invites authenticity. It gives people permission to show up as they are. In leadership, empathy is the difference between managing people and understanding them. Anyone can give instructions, but only a true leader can connect. That connection doesn't come from authority. It comes from empathy. When people feel like you care about who they are, not just what they do, they go the extra mile. They show up with more energy, more loyalty, more passion, not because they have to, but because they want to. That's what empathy creates, commitment, not just compliance. In relationships, empathy builds intimacy. It's what turns conversations into connection. It's what makes someone feel safe, seen, and supported. It's not about offering solutions or fixing problems. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is just be present and say, "I hear you, I see you, I'm here." That alone can change a person's entire day, even their entire life. Because so few people truly feel understood. To develop empathy, you must slow down. You must learn to listen not just with your ears, but with your full attention. You must get curious about people, not to judge them, but to understand them. Ask yourself, what might this person be going through, even when they seem fine? Especially when they seem fine. Because empathy doesn't wait for someone to break down. It leans in. It notices. It cares before it's convenient. You'll have to unlearn a lot of habits to get there. You'll have to let go of your need to always be right. You'll have to stop making everything about you. You'll have to become more interested in someone else's story than in your own. That's hard, especially in a world that tells you to focus on yourself, to win, to stand out. But the truth is, the people who make the biggest impact aren't the loudest. They're the ones who listen, who feel, who connect. Empathy also teaches you patience. Because when you understand someone's background, their struggles, their perspective, you stop rushing to judgment. You stop labeling them as lazy, difficult, or dramatic. You begin to see the layers underneath. And that understanding changes how you respond. It makes you more compassionate, more thoughtful, more human. And in return, people feel safe around you. They feel valued. And that's when trust begins to form. Empathy is also a tool for healing. When someone's hurting, you don't need to have the perfect words. You just need to be with them in the pain. That presence is powerful. It tells them you're not alone. And for someone going through something difficult, that reminder can be life-saving. You become a source of strength, not by fixing, but by feeling, not by speaking, but by staying. That's empathy in action. And don't forget, empathy isn't just for others. You must also practice it with yourself. You must learn to be gentle with your own pain, your own failures, your own struggles. Because if you can't offer yourself understanding, how can you offer it to someone else? The more compassion you show yourself, the more naturally you'll extend it to others. Empathy begins within, and the more you nurture it, the more it becomes a way of life. Sometimes you'll get it wrong. You'll misread someone. You'll say the wrong thing. That's part of being human. But empathy gives you the humility to own it, and the courage to try again. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about being willing to sit with someone's truth without needing to correct it. That takes strength, and that strength makes you magnetic. People will gravitate toward you, not because you always have the answers, but because you make them feel seen. That feeling is priceless. It's what every human being craves, to be understood without being judged. When you offer that to others, you become unforgettable, not because you tried to impress them, but because you made them feel safe enough to be themselves. That's the legacy of empathy. You'll find that empathy doesn't just help you connect, it helps you grow. Every time you step into someone else's world, you expand your own. You learn new perspectives. You challenge your assumptions. You soften your edges. And in that process you become more grounded, more open, more wise. Empathy doesn't weaken you, it deepens you. To develop it, start small. Next time someone talks to you, don't just listen, feel, imagine what it's like to be them. Put your opinions aside, stop preparing your response. Just be there. Notice their emotions, reflect what you see. And when you don't understand, don't assume, ask. Say, help me understand what that's like for you. That simple question can open a door you didn't even know was there. This takes daily practice. You'll be tempted to rush. You'll be tempted to stay in your head. But every time you pause, every time you choose connection over correction, you strengthen your empathy muscle. And over time it becomes natural. It becomes who you are. You stop needing to be right all the time. You stop needing to win every conversation. You start valuing connection over control. And that shift transforms everything. People will start to feel different around you. They'll talk to you more openly. They'll share things they wouldn't tell anyone else. And it won't be because you have all the answers. It'll be because you've learned how to be there, fully, honestly, without judgment. That presence is powerful, and in a world that's often cold and transactional, it's what sets you apart. The truth is, you can't fake empathy. It has to be real. People can sense the difference. They know when you're truly present and when you're just going through the motions. If you want to be remembered, if you want to make an impact, if you want to leave people better than you found them, start by developing empathy. Not someday. Not when it's convenient. Start now. Practice every day. Make it part of who you are. Because in the end, no one remembers how perfectly you spoke. They remember how deeply you made them feel seen. And that's the power of empathy. It touches the heart, it transforms lives, and it leaves a mark that words alone never could. Chapter 4. Recognize body language signals to read unspoken thoughts. Most of what people really mean isn't said out loud, it's shown. If you want to understand people deeply, you must learn to read what they aren't saying. Words can lie, words can hide, but the body rarely does. When someone speaks, you're hearing their message. But when you observe their body, their posture, their eyes, their hands, their tone, you're seeing their truth. And those unspoken signals, they're more honest, more revealing, and more impactful than any sentence ever spoken. People are constantly communicating beneath the surface. Even when their mouth is silent, their body is screaming. You'll see tension in a clenched jaw. You'll see discomfort in crossed arms. You'll notice doubt in a fake smile. But most people miss these cues because they're too focused on what's being said, not how it's being said. And that's a mistake, because every time you ignore body language, you miss an opportunity to see the real story unfolding in front of you. Once you become aware of body language, everything changes. Your awareness expands. Your perception sharpens. You start picking up on the emotional truth beneath someone's words. And when you understand that truth, you connect on a much deeper level. You stop making assumptions. You stop misinterpreting. You start engaging with the person as they are, not as you wish they were. That's real power. The first shift you need to make is learning to observe, not just listen. Most people are so busy formulating their next response that they completely miss what the other person is expressing physically. Start paying attention to how someone sits, where they place their hands, how often they blink, how still or fidgety they are. These little signs are massive clues. They reveal confidence, fear, anxiety, deception, interest, or disengagement, long before any words confirm it. The eyes especially will tell you everything. They dart, they avoid, they focus, they reveal emotion. When someone avoids eye contact at a key moment, that might be discomfort or uncertainty. When their pupils dilate while speaking to you, that could indicate interest or excitement. The direction their eyes move after a question may hint at whether they're recalling something or inventing a story. But don't jump to conclusions. Use these signs as signals to observe further, not instant proof of anything. Read the whole context. Another powerful indicator is posture. Is their body open or closed? Are they facing you or turning away? Are their shoulders tense or relaxed? A confident person stands tall, chest open, feet grounded. Someone nervous might fold into themselves, shrink, shift their weight repeatedly. These physical cues tell you whether the person feels safe, strong, guarded, or uncertain. You'll start to notice when people subtly withdraw from a topic by literally leaning back or turning their feet away. That's the body trying to exit even before the person does verbally. Hands are windows to a person's inner state. Fidgeting fingers, rubbing palms, clenched fists, these aren't random. They're signs of what's happening internally. When someone hides their hands or keeps them under the table, they might be feeling insecure or defensive. When their hands are expressive and open, that often reflects confidence and comfort. Someone repeatedly touching their face or neck might be nervous or unsure. Each movement is a story. Each signal is a sentence without sound. Even the way people breathe matters. A deep inhale during a conversation could signal hesitation, stress, or the need to buy time. A sudden exhale might reveal relief or frustration. Shallow breathing can come from anxiety. These micro behaviors are constantly happening, and once you learn to spot them, your understanding of people will transform completely. But body language isn't about catching people in a lie. It's about getting closer to their truth. It's about meeting them where they are, emotionally, even when they're not able to express it with words. It helps you respond better. When someone says they're fine but everything in their body says they're not, that's a chance for you to care more deeply. That's your cue to ask a better question, to lean in, to be present. In tough conversations, reading body language can prevent misunderstandings. You'll know when someone's uncomfortable, even if they won't say it. You'll see when they're disengaged, even while nodding. That helps you adjust, pause, clarify, and ensure mutual understanding. In negotiation, reading non-verbal cues can help you sense hesitation or hidden concerns. In leadership, it helps you read the emotional temperature of a room. In relationships, it helps you become more emotionally intelligent and less reactive. The key is not just reading signals, but interpreting them in context. One gesture doesn't tell the whole story. Crossed arms, for example, might mean defensiveness, or simply that the person is cold or comfortable that way. That's why you don't rely on one sign. You stack multiple cues together. You watch their overall demeanor. You match their body to their words. Are they congruent, or is something off? Consistency between verbal and non-verbal communication is what builds trust. When someone's words match their tone, their eyes, their posture, you feel safe. You believe them. But when those things don't align, you feel something is off, even if you can't explain it. That's your intuition reacting to body language. And the more you train yourself to notice, the stronger that intuition becomes. Learning to read body language will make you more empathetic. You'll notice when someone is struggling, even when they smile. You'll sense when someone is overwhelmed, even when they're quiet. This doesn't mean you invade their space. It means you're present, observant, and ready to support when needed. It's a superpower in a world where most people are disconnected and distracted. It also makes you more persuasive. When you read people accurately, you adapt. You adjust your delivery. You slow down or speed up based on how engaged they seem. You mirror their energy slightly to build rapport. You respond to their emotional state rather than pushing your agenda. That's real influence. It's subtle, respectful, and effective. To master this, practice observing without judgment. Watch people in conversations. Look beyond what's being said. Observe with curiosity, not assumptions. Train yourself to detect discomfort, resistance, openness, or enthusiasm based on movement, posture, and tone. Start noticing the unspoken rhythms in every interaction. They're always there, waiting to be read. You can also improve your own body language. Because just as you're reading others, they're reading you. If your posture is slouched, your face is tense, your arms are crossed, you might be sending the wrong message. Be intentional. Make sure your body reflects openness, confidence, and calm energy. That doesn't mean you need to exaggerate. It means being aware of how your presence impacts others. When you carry yourself with quiet strength, people feel it before you say a word. When you enter a room, your body speaks before you do. When you walk into a meeting, your energy enters before your voice. Every gesture, every movement, every facial expression, it all communicates something. And once you realize that, you begin to craft your presence with purpose. You use your body to align with your message, to reinforce your truth, to inspire trust. This is not about manipulation. It's about awareness. It's about honoring the full language of human interaction, both verbal and non-verbal. It's about showing up completely, reading fully, and connecting deeply. Because when you recognize body language, you begin to see people as they are, not just as they say they are. You become more grounded. You stop missing emotional cues. You stop taking everything at face value. You become more intuitive, more insightful, more connected. And in a world where everyone's trying to be heard, you become someone who understands. That makes you rare. That makes you valuable. So start paying attention, not just to what's being said, but to what's being shown. Watch the posture. Notice the tone. Observe the eyes. Read the rhythm. Tune into the energy beneath the surface. That's where the real message lives. That's where truth speaks without sound. And once you learn that language, you'll never see people the same way again. You'll walk into rooms and feel the tension before words are spoken. You'll sit across from someone and sense their fear behind the smile. You'll recognize when someone's faking confidence or silently begging for help. You'll become a person who truly sees. And that ability will give you influence, compassion, wisdom, and clarity. Not because you're guessing, but because you're watching. The more you practice, the clearer it becomes. You won't need to try hard. It'll become instinct. You'll read people in seconds because your mind and eyes are trained. You'll respond better, lead smarter, and connect deeper. And most importantly, you'll never mistake silence for peace or words for truth again. You'll understand people, not just with your ears, but with your whole presence. That's the gift of recognizing body language. It takes your interactions from surface to soul. It opens a level of communication that most never reach. And it turns you into someone who doesn't just hear, but truly understands. Chapter 5. Adapt your communication style to suit different personalities. If you speak the right message in the wrong language, it will never land. In every conversation, the most powerful skill you can develop is the ability to adjust how you express yourself depending on who you're speaking to. Because communication is not about talking, it's about connecting. And the people who know how to shape their message for the listener are the ones who create deep impact and lasting influence. No two people process information the same way. Some want you to get straight to the point. Others need context and emotional understanding. Some thrive on enthusiasm and energy, while others respect calm and logic. If you walk into every conversation using the same tone, pace, and intensity, you'll lose people. Not because you're wrong, but because you're out of sync with how they receive things. Communication is not about you. It's about the other person. Adapting your communication style doesn't mean you're being fake. It means you're being smart. You're being present. You're being aware that the same words can inspire one person and push another away. It means you're paying attention to the rhythm and nature of the person in front of you. You're listening to more than just what they're saying. You're understanding who they are and how they operate. The truth is, people have different wiring. Some are analytical. They want facts, data, logic. They respond to structure and step-by-step reasoning. Others are emotional. They care about connection, feelings, meaning. They respond to tone, warmth, and empathy. Then there are those who are assertive and goal-oriented. They want efficiency, clarity, and control. And some are more reflective and cautious. They need reassurance, patience, and time to process. You cannot approach each of these personalities the same way. You must meet them where they are. You must speak in the rhythm they understand. You must build a bridge from your world into theirs, not demand they walk over to yours. And when you do that, you earn trust. You create clarity. You reduce friction. And most importantly, you make people feel understood. And that feeling is powerful. Think of it like tuning a radio. If you're on the wrong frequency, no matter how loud you speak, they won't hear the message clearly. But if you find the right wavelength, the connection becomes sharp, clear, and real. That's what it means to adapt your communication style. You're tuning yourself to the frequency of the person in front of you. This isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. It's about seeing people not just as they appear, but as they truly are. It's about understanding their lens, their language, their pace. You're not changing who you are. You're using your range. You're adjusting your delivery so it lands with impact. You're expanding how you communicate so you can reach more people more deeply. Watch how people react when you speak. Are they nodding along or pulling away? Are they engaged or distracted? Are they matching your energy or shrinking under it? These are signs. These are clues about what kind of style resonates with them. If someone looks overwhelmed, slow down. If someone looks bored, speed up. If someone seems uncertain, clarify. If someone looks skeptical, offer evidence. You're constantly reading and responding in real time. Strong communicators are not rigid. They are fluid. They are flexible. They know how to hold their message steady while changing the form it takes. They don't mistake loudness for strength or fast talking for influence. They listen, they adapt, and they make the person in front of them feel seen, heard, and respected. Imagine talking to a quiet, thoughtful person who takes time to respond. If you rush in with rapid-fire questions and intense eye contact, you'll overwhelm them. You won't get their best. But if you slow your pace, give space between your words, and offer gentle questions, they'll open up. You've matched their energy. You've respected their personality. That's emotional intelligence in action. Now picture a high-energy, results-driven person who values efficiency. If you wander through small talk or over-explain details, they'll lose interest. But if you're direct, focused, and outcome-oriented, they'll lean in. You've spoken their language. You've earned their attention. It works the same in every area of life. In leadership, it makes you more effective. In sales, it builds trust. In relationships, it deepens connection. In everyday conversations, it reduces miscommunication and misunderstanding. Because when you adapt how you speak, you show people you care enough to meet them where they are. And that changes everything. Start by paying attention to patterns. Does the person prefer specifics or general ideas? Do they ask questions about how things feel or how things work? Do they light up with stories or with structure? Are they energized by people or drained by noise? These clues will help you discover their personality type and adjust your approach. If someone values harmony, speak with kindness. If they value accuracy, speak with detail. If they value speed, speak with clarity. If they value connection, speak with warmth. These small adjustments make a massive difference. Also notice your default style. Are you naturally assertive or more reserved? Are you emotional or logical in how you speak? Know your own tendencies so you can stretch beyond them when needed. The goal isn't to abandon your style. It's to build range. Great communicators are not one-dimensional. They have the flexibility to pivot without losing themselves. You don't need a psychology degree to master this. You just need to care. You need to observe. You need to practice. The more you listen, the more you learn. The more you adjust, the more you grow. It's not about perfection, it's about connection. And connection requires effort. Sometimes you'll get it wrong. That's okay. Learn from it. Ask for feedback. Pay attention to how your message was received. Communication is not a one-time act. It's a living, breathing relationship between people. And relationships require adaptation, attention, and growth. When you adapt your style, you also inspire others to do the same. You create environments where people feel heard and respected. You lower defenses. You create safe spaces for real conversations. You lead with presence instead of pressure. And over time, you become someone people trust, not just because of what you say, but because of how you make them feel. Think about the most impactful people you've ever encountered. Teachers, mentors, friends, leaders. They probably had this skill. They didn't talk at you. They didn't overpower. They understood. They adjusted. And because of that, their words stayed with you. That's what you're building now. You're becoming someone who leaves a mark because you care enough to change your approach. You're becoming someone who communicates in a way that uplifts, clarifies, and empowers. You're not speaking just to be heard. You're speaking to serve. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are if you can't connect. It doesn't matter how experienced you are if people can't receive your message. Connection is everything, And connection happens when you stop forcing your style and start tuning into theirs. The real secret is presence. When you're truly present with someone, you naturally adjust. You hear their rhythm, you feel their pace, you sense their needs. You don't have to think about every move. You simply respond with awareness. That's where the magic lives. In the space between stimulus and response. In the quiet decision to adapt for the sake of connection. So don't stay stuck in one mode of communication. Don't assume that what works for you will work for everyone. Grow beyond that. Train yourself to stretch. Build emotional range. Build verbal range. Build the ability to shape your message in the way it's most likely to be received. Because the message doesn't matter if it doesn't land. And the truth won't help if it isn't heard. But when you adapt your communication to match the listener, you unlock doors that were previously closed. You build bridges where there were gaps. You reach people, not just their ears, but their hearts. This is your edge. This is your responsibility. And this is your power. The ability to shape your message for maximum impact. The ability to speak with clarity, confidence, and compassion, no matter who's in front of you. That's what will separate you. That's what will elevate you. And that's what will make every conversation a chance to connect, influence, and lead with intention. Chapter 6. Build emotional awareness to manage your reactions effectively. You will never have power over your life until you learn to manage what goes on inside you. Most people try to control their environment, their relationships, even other people, but the real breakthrough happens when you take full responsibility for your inner world. That means understanding what you feel, why you feel it, and how to use those emotions without being used by them. That's emotional awareness, and it changes everything. Emotions aren't enemies, they're signals. They tell you something is important. They point you toward what matters. But if you're not aware of them, if you don't recognize their patterns, you end up reacting instead of responding. You snap at people who didn't deserve it. You walk away from opportunities because fear got in the way. You carry anger that was never fully understood. You suppress sadness until it becomes bitterness. The cost of emotional blindness is high, and most people are paying that price every single day. Building emotional awareness is the foundation of all personal growth, because if you don't know what you're feeling, you can't change how you behave. You can't lead yourself. You can't communicate clearly. You can't handle stress with resilience. You can't build meaningful relationships. Every decision you make is colored by emotion, so if you're not aware of what's coloring your judgment, you're operating in the dark. Start by slowing down. Create moments in your day when you pause and check in with yourself. Ask, what am I feeling right now? Not what you think you should feel, not what you want to feel, what's actually there. Is it frustration? Is it anxiety? Is it shame, envy, hope, joy? Most people are only fluent in 2 or 3 emotions, happy, sad, angry. But the emotional spectrum is wide. Get curious. Learn to name the specific emotions, because when you can name it, you can navigate it. Self-awareness doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means giving them the space to be seen without letting them hijack your actions. You're allowed to feel anything. You're not allowed to let those feelings drive you into self-destruction or ruin your relationships. Emotional awareness is the bridge between impulse and intention. It's what allows you to feel anger without lashing out, to feel fear without running away, to feel sadness without collapsing into despair. It gives you options. It gives you power. When something triggers you, don't run from it, study it. Why did that moment upset you? Why did that person's words cut so deep? Why did that situation cause tension in your body? Those reactions are clues. They reveal what wounds haven't healed, what beliefs you still carry, and what areas of your life need growth. If you ignore the signals, you miss the lesson. But if you pay attention, every emotional reaction becomes a chance to understand yourself better. You don't need to act on every emotion. You just need to acknowledge it. Let it rise, let it speak. And then ask, is this feeling trying to protect me or limit me? Is it based on truth or fear? Is it helping me grow or keeping me stuck? These questions allow you to separate yourself from the wave and stand in a place of clarity. From there you choose your response, not out of habit, not out of ego, but out of wisdom. Your emotional awareness also allows you to navigate difficult conversations with grace. You're no longer driven by defensiveness. You're no longer reacting to every comment. You're observing your inner state and staying grounded even when things get heated. That's real power. That's how you maintain your dignity and protect your peace without becoming numb or passive. You're awake. You're aware. You're in control, not of the world but of yourself. People with high emotional awareness don't avoid discomfort. They sit with it. They let it teach them. They don't run from anxiety. They ask where it's coming from. They don't bury anger. They explore what boundary was crossed. They don't ignore joy. They let it expand. That's the beauty of emotional awareness. It makes life deeper, richer, more meaningful. You begin to live with your whole heart, not just the parts that feel safe. Managing your reactions doesn't mean pretending you're okay when you're not. It means honoring your feelings without letting them sabotage your future. It means choosing to respond in a way that aligns with your values, not just your impulses. It means recognizing when your emotions are valid but not helpful. You might be right to feel upset, but you're still responsible for how you express it. Emotional growth is not about perfection. You'll still have bad days. You'll still get triggered. You'll still fall into old habits sometimes. But the more aware you become, the quicker you recover. The more clarity you gain, the less damage you do. You start to notice when your tone changes, when your energy shifts, when your thoughts spiral, and instead of being a victim to those moments, you become a student of them. That's how you level up. Every time you pause instead of react, you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching yourself a new way to exist, a more conscious, calm, and grounded way of living. You're not running on autopilot anymore. You're choosing your path in each moment, regardless of the emotional turbulence. That's where strength is born, not in avoiding emotion, but in mastering how you move through it. This is especially important when you're under pressure. Stress doesn't create new problems. It reveals the ones already buried. If you don't know how to regulate your emotions, pressure will break you. But if you've done the inner work, if you've built awareness, if you've trained yourself to stay centered, you'll stay steady when others fall apart. That's why emotional awareness isn't just a personal tool, it's a leadership tool. People follow the person who stays composed in chaos. They trust the one who understands themselves. Think about how many conflicts in your life could have been avoided if you had just paused, if you had just recognized the emotion before it exploded, if you had just understood what you were really feeling instead of lashing out, shutting down, or making impulsive decisions. Emotional awareness prevents regret. It protects relationships. It keeps you aligned with your best self. And it's not something you either have or don't have. It's a skill. It can be built, but it takes honesty. You have to be willing to see what's really happening inside you. You have to sit with discomfort. You have to stop blaming everyone else and start owning your patterns. Because every time you avoid emotional responsibility, you give your power away. But when you step into full ownership, when you say this is mine to manage, you take your life back. Journaling helps. Meditation helps. Therapy helps. Honest conversations with people who love you help. These practices bring your emotions into the light, so they don't control you from the shadows. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. You start to catch your emotions earlier. You start to understand what's beneath the surface. You become a calm observer of your inner world, not a frantic passenger. And here's the truth. Emotions are not the enemy. Unawareness is, repression is, denial is. When you embrace your emotions, when you become aware of them, you become fully alive. You no longer numb yourself. You no longer live disconnected. You feel more, but you suffer less, because you understand what to do with what you feel. You don't need to fight your emotions. You need to partner with them. You need to understand their purpose, their patterns, their messages, and then you use that understanding to act with intention. That's the mark of someone who is emotionally strong, not someone who hides emotion, but someone who manages it with clarity and maturity. So take this seriously. Don't ignore your emotions. Don't pretend they don't matter. They matter more than you know. They shape your choices. They influence your relationships. They affect your health. They create your life experience. And if you want to change your life, you must start with your emotional awareness. Every moment is a chance to pause and reflect. Every trigger is a teacher. Every emotion is a guide. Listen to them, learn from them, and most of all, lead yourself through them with strength, grace, and courage. Because once you build emotional awareness, nothing can shake you the same way again. You rise above reactivity. You reclaim your peace, and you finally become the one in charge of your life. Chapter 7. Use questions strategically to encourage honest and open dialogue. The fastest way to understand someone is not by speaking, it's by asking the right question and giving them the space to be real. Most people talk to be heard. Few talk to understand. But if you want to create honest and meaningful conversations that lead to truth, trust, and transformation, you have to stop trying to impress and start learning to inquire. The strongest communicators aren't the loudest ones. They're the ones who know how to use questions like a key, unlocking what's hidden, what's guarded, and what's possible. Questions shape the direction of every dialogue. The quality of the conversation depends on the quality of the questions being asked. Weak questions get surface-level answers. Strategic questions dig deeper. They break past masks and walls. They invite honesty. They spark reflection. They challenge assumptions without causing conflict. And if you ask them with the right energy, calm, patient, and open, you'll create an environment where people feel safe enough to stop pretending. There's a powerful difference between asking to respond and asking to understand. If you're only listening so you can reply quickly, you're not actually present. You're waiting for your turn to talk. That's not a conversation. That's a competition. But when you ask with the intention to truly grasp someone's experience, everything changes. People can feel the shift. They can sense the difference. And they'll naturally start to trust you more. Why? Because they feel seen, not judged. They feel valued, not interrogated. Most people have layers. They've been burned before. They've been shut down or dismissed. So they build walls. They stop sharing freely. They protect their thoughts, their pain, their dreams. but a strategic question can open them up again. It can signal, you can be honest here. I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to attack you. I just want to understand you. That's rare in today's world. And when you offer it, it stands out. People don't forget the ones who made them feel heard in a world full of noise. The way you ask matters. It's not just the words, it's the tone, the timing, the energy behind it. If your questions feel like traps or accusations, they'll shut people down. But if your questions come from curiosity and compassion, people will open up. That's the art. You don't force someone to be honest. You create conditions where honesty feels safe. You don't demand vulnerability. You invite it with respect. It starts with being intentional. Don't just ask what's wrong. Ask what's been weighing on you lately. Don't just ask how are you. Ask what's been on your mind the most this week. These kinds of questions aren't generic. They don't invite autopilot answers. They require people to reflect and reveal something real. That's the point. You want people to drop their scripts and speak their truth. Strategic questioning is a leadership tool. Great leaders don't bark orders. They ask questions that make people think, grow, and take ownership. They say things like, "What do you think is the biggest challenge here?" Or "What support do you need from me?" Or "What's one thing we could improve together?" These questions don't just extract information. They empower people. They show that you respect their mind, their voice, their input. In relationships too, asking the right questions can heal wounds and build trust. How did that make you feel? What do you need from me right now? What do you wish I understood better? These are not questions to manipulate. They are invitations for closeness. They help you see beyond the surface. They help you connect to someone's emotional world, where their fears, dreams, and truths live. But here's the key. Once you ask, shut up. Don't interrupt. Don't rush in to correct. Don't use their answer against them. Just listen. Sit with their words. Let the silence breathe. Sometimes, the most powerful moments happen after the initial answer, when the person pauses, reflects deeper, and then says what they were really thinking. But you only get that if you're patient enough to wait. This is where most people fail. They ask questions but don't really want the answers. They ask but then react defensively. They ask but then judge. That breaks the trust. That closes the door. If you're going to ask honest questions, you must be strong enough to receive honest answers. Even if they make you uncomfortable. Even if they challenge your ego. Even if they reveal truths you weren't ready to hear. Because that's the price of real dialogue. You don't get the truth without the courage to face it. You also have to know when to ask. Timing matters. If someone is angry or hurt, asking too soon can backfire. But if you wait for the storm to pass, then gently ask, what was really behind that moment? Or what do you wish I understood earlier? You give them space to process and express themselves clearly. Strategic questioning is not about control, it's about timing, tact, and trust. Another powerful tactic is asking reflective questions. What did you learn from that experience? If you could do it again, what would you change? What did that situation teach you about yourself? These questions turn pain into wisdom. They help people grow. They take situations that could become resentments and transform them into stepping stones. In teams and organizations, strategic questioning unlocks creativity and collaboration. Don't just tell people what to do. Ask them what they see, what they'd change, what ideas they have. Ask what are we missing here, or what's the risk we're not seeing yet? Or if you were leading this, what would you do differently? You'll be shocked at how much insight and innovation people hold. if you just take the time to ask and listen. Even in casual conversations, strategic questions make people feel alive. Instead of small talk, ask things like, what's something you've been thinking about a lot lately? Or what's one thing you're excited for in the future? Or what's a belief you used to have that's changed? These questions move the conversation beyond the surface. They bring depth. They invite connection. If you want to be unforgettable, learn to ask the questions that no one else asks. The ones that touch the soul, not just the situation. The ones that say, I see you, I want to know you. You don't have to hide here. That's rare. And when you learn to ask like that, people will remember you not for what you said, but for how you made them feel. You don't need a title to lead. You just need the courage to ask questions that matter. You need the awareness to ask with kindness. You need the humility to listen with your full attention. And you need the strength to sit with whatever answers come. That's how change begins. That's how bridges are built. That's how wounds are healed. That's how trust is formed, one honest question at a time. So be bold. Ask more. Ask better. Ask with your heart open. Ask with your ego turned off. Ask because you care, not because you're trying to win. Because questions are not weapons, they're mirrors. They reflect what's real. They reveal what's hidden. And if you use them with integrity, you'll create conversations that don't just fill the air, but change lives. Chapter 8. Cultivate patience to handle difficult conversations calmly and clearly. The real test of your strength isn't how loud you can be in a conversation. It's how still you can remain when the moment gets tense. In a world that teaches you to react fast, speak quickly, and defend your opinion at all costs, patience becomes a superpower. Especially in difficult conversations, patience is the edge that separates the wise from the impulsive. When emotions run high and stakes feel personal, most people lose their clarity. But if you can stay calm when others can't, you gain control, not over them, but over yourself. And that kind of self-control is power. It's easy to stay composed when everything is smooth. But when someone challenges your character, questions your values, or misreads your intentions, that's when your real discipline shows. The natural instinct is to interrupt, defend, attack, or escape. But if you want to truly influence the situation, you need to resist that urge. Patience isn't passivity. It's power under control. It's the decision to hold back, to breathe, to listen, and to respond with clarity rather than react with emotion. Most people don't listen in difficult conversations. They wait for their turn to speak. They prepare comebacks instead of opening their minds. That's why arguments escalate. That's why people leave conversations feeling more misunderstood than before. But if you slow it down, if you make space for silence, if you give the other person time to speak fully, you shift the energy of the interaction. You stop the cycle of attack and defense, and suddenly the possibility of understanding opens up. When you rush, you miss the message behind the words. You hear the tone, but not the truth. You see the expression, but not the emotion beneath it. Difficult conversations aren't just about words. They're about the feelings behind those words. Patience helps you see the fear behind the anger, the insecurity behind the defensiveness, the need behind the frustration. And when you can see that, you respond differently. You stop reacting to the noise and start addressing the root. Cultivating patience doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means being aware of them and choosing not to let them control you. It means noticing the heat rising in your chest, the tension in your jaw, the urge to shout, and choosing to breathe instead. Choosing to ground yourself in the moment. choosing to let the wave pass before you speak. That choice, made over and over, turns into a habit, and that habit builds emotional intelligence and real resilience. Patience gives you the space to think clearly. In difficult conversations, clarity is your greatest asset. If you lose your temper, you lose your grip on the message you came to deliver. You get dragged into side issues, personal attacks, and emotional landmines. But if you stay patient, you keep your focus. You remember what matters. You listen for meaning, not just words. And when you speak, your message lands with weight, not just volume. One of the most powerful things you can do in a difficult conversation is pause. A well-timed pause can calm the storm. It signals control. It gives the other person a moment to breathe. It shows that you are not here to fight, but to understand. Sometimes, that pause gives you time to choose better words. Other times, it gives them a chance to reconsider their own. Either way, it's an act of leadership. Not everyone can pause in pressure. Those who do change the tone of the conversation. Patience also protects relationships. Some of the biggest regrets people carry come from words spoken in the heat of the moment. You can't unsay something once it's out. You can apologize, but you can't erase it. Patience acts as a filter. It stops words you'll regret from crossing your lips. It gives you a chance to think, is this helpful? Is this necessary? Is this kind? And that split second of reflection can save you years of damage. In high-stakes conversations, especially with loved ones or colleagues, your ability to stay patient can determine the future of the relationship. Do you escalate the tension or ease it? Do you make them feel heard or dismissed? Do you attack their weakness or acknowledge their humanity? Those choices matter. They leave emotional imprints. People don't just remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel in that hard moment. You don't need to agree with someone to be patient with them. Patience doesn't mean accepting lies or tolerating abuse. It means handling the situation without letting it pull you out of character. It means standing firm in your truth while still giving space for the other person to express theirs. It means setting boundaries with respect, not aggression. It means being strong without being harsh. Sometimes, the most difficult conversations are the ones you have with yourself. The internal dialogue, the doubts, the inner conflicts. Patience is needed here too. Growth doesn't come in one conversation, one realization, or one decision. It's a series of moments where you choose to keep showing up for yourself, even when the change is slow, even when the answers aren't clear yet, even when you feel stuck. Patience with yourself builds self-trust. It teaches you to stay steady through the discomfort of becoming someone better. People will try to provoke you. They'll push your buttons. They'll say things to get a reaction. But your power lies in not giving them what they expect. Let them bring chaos. You bring calm. Let them get loud. You stay clear. Let them accuse. You stay rooted in your truth. That's not weakness. It's wisdom. That's not fear. It's mastery. Training patience requires practice. You'll fail. You'll slip. You'll speak too soon, react too harshly, regret what you said. That's part of the process. What matters is that you keep coming back to the goal to handle pressure with grace, to hold tension without breaking, to bring clarity when others bring confusion. That's what sets you apart. That's what earns respect. You build patience the same way you build muscle, by testing it. Every difficult conversation is a rep. Every moment of frustration is a chance to strengthen it. And with time, you start to notice the shift. You don't get as easily rattled. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to speak just to fill the silence. You learn to be comfortable in the pause. You learn to trust that staying calm is more powerful than proving a point. Don't mistake patience for weakness. It takes immense strength to hold back when your ego wants to lash out. It takes discipline to keep your tone steady when your emotions want to explode. It takes maturity to seek understanding when you feel misunderstood. That's not soft. That's real strength. That's leadership. That's growth. The world is full of noise. Everyone's trying to talk over each other. Everyone wants to be right. Everyone's in a hurry to be heard. But if you become the person who can sit in discomfort without rushing, who can stay kind in conflict, who can speak calmly under pressure, people will listen to you, not just because of your words, but because of your presence. You don't need to dominate a conversation to be effective. You don't need to rush to defend yourself to be strong. You don't need to prove anything in the heat of the moment. You just need to stay centered. Stay present. Stay patient. Because in the end, it's not the person who speaks the most who wins. It's the person who speaks the most wisely. Patience in conversation isn't just a skill. It's a way of being. It's a way of respecting yourself, the other person, and the truth that's trying to emerge in that moment. Don't be in a rush to get it over with. Stay in it. Feel it. Handle it with intention. That's where breakthroughs happen. That's where trust is built. That's where real change begins. So next time the tension rises, breathe. Let the storm pass. Hold your ground with calm strength. Speak with clarity, not emotion. And remember, your patience is not weakness. It's power. It's maturity. It's the signal that you're not here to fight. You're here to understand, to grow, to lead. And that kind of energy changes everything. Chapter 9. Enhance your intuition to sense underlying motives and emotions. Your intuition is the silent voice that guides you through the chaos when logic alone falls short. It is the invisible thread connecting you to deeper truths, the subtle compass pointing toward what's real beneath the surface. Developing this skill is not a gift reserved for a few. It is a muscle you can strengthen every day. When you sharpen your intuition, you begin to perceive the hidden emotions and motives that others try to disguise. And that's where true understanding starts. You gain insight beyond words, beyond facts, beyond appearances. Many people underestimate how much information they already receive without realizing it. Every glance, every shift in tone, every hesitation carries meaning. Your brain is constantly processing millions of signals from your environment, but often your conscious mind filters out what seems irrelevant or confusing. Intuition is the process of connecting those scattered pieces of data into a meaningful whole. It's your subconscious mind speaking up, pulling from experience, memory, and subtle cues you might not even notice consciously. Trusting this inner voice allows you to read between the lines, to catch the unsaid, and to navigate conversations and relationships with clarity few possess. Strengthening intuition means learning to listen, truly listen, to your own feelings and instincts. It requires quieting the mental noise, slowing down the urge to immediately judge or respond. When you pause and create space for your intuition to rise, it starts to reveal patterns you might otherwise miss. You notice when a compliment feels hollow, when enthusiasm seems forced, when a story doesn't quite add up. These are clues to the underlying emotions or motives at play. Developing this skill makes you less vulnerable to manipulation and more attuned to authentic connection. Intuition is not about guessing or jumping to conclusions. It's a deliberate practice of observation paired with self-awareness. You learn to separate your own biases and fears from the subtle signals coming from others. Sometimes your intuition will whisper caution, other times it will nudge you toward openness. Over time, this becomes a reliable guide for making decisions that align with your true interests and values. It allows you to act not just based on what's visible, but on what's truly happening beneath the surface. One of the key ways to enhance intuition is to pay attention to your body's responses. Our bodies react instinctively before our minds catch up. Notice the tension in your chest when something feels off, the lightness when you sense trust, or the prickling at the back of your neck when there's hidden danger. These physical sensations are signals from your deeper self, alerting you to underlying truths. Learning to tune into these cues strengthens your ability to sense emotions and intentions that people might try to hide. Another essential element is developing emotional literacy, understanding your own emotions and recognizing them in others. The clearer you are about what you feel and why, the easier it becomes to identify those feelings in someone else. When you can discern subtle shifts in mood or energy, your intuition becomes sharper. You start to sense when someone is masking sadness with a smile or hiding frustration behind polite words. This emotional insight opens the door to greater empathy and connection. Practice also plays a vital role. The more you expose yourself to different social situations and observe without judgment, the more refined your intuitive sense becomes. Try to observe interactions without jumping to assumptions. Instead, focus on gathering clues, a fleeting expression, a change in voice pitch, a hesitation before answering. Reflect afterward on what you noticed and whether your initial instincts were accurate. Over time, you will build confidence in your ability to read beyond surface-level behavior. Silence is a powerful ally in this process. In conversations, resist the urge to fill every gap with words. Allow pauses to exist. These moments often reveal more than words ever could. People might reveal truths accidentally, drop subtle hints, or show vulnerability when the pressure to respond is lifted. Your intuition flourishes in this space because it's not competing with noise or distraction. Instead, it can gather subtle signals and assemble them into a coherent picture. Journaling your experiences can deepen your connection with intuition. Write down your impressions of interactions, your gut feelings, and what you learned afterward. This reflection helps you track patterns and strengthens your ability to distinguish between fear-based reactions and genuine intuitive insights. The process builds trust with yourself, teaching you to value your inner guidance as a reliable source of wisdom. At times, intuition may challenge your rational mind. You might feel conflicted between what you think you should do and what your inner voice urges. This tension is normal. The key is to acknowledge both perspectives and allow space for intuition to speak. Often, when you're patient and open, your rational mind will catch up, offering clarity and confirming your instincts. The integration of both mind and intuition leads to balanced, wise decisions. Building this skill also requires courage. Intuition may reveal uncomfortable truths about others or yourself. It might expose motives that are hidden or intentions that are not pure. Facing these realities demands honesty and resilience. But ignoring intuition leaves you vulnerable to manipulation, misunderstandings, and wasted energy. When you honor your inner sense, you protect yourself and cultivate relationships built on genuine understanding. Another critical aspect is recognizing when intuition is clouded by personal bias, fear, or wishful thinking. Intuition is not infallible. It can be distorted by past trauma, unresolved emotions, or a desire to see things a certain way. That's why self-awareness is essential. Developing emotional maturity and mindfulness helps you differentiate between authentic intuitive insights and distorted signals. Question your feelings gently and seek evidence when needed, but don't dismiss your inner voice too quickly. Intuition often thrives in moments of stillness and presence. When your mind is cluttered with worry, distraction, or fear, it's hard to hear what your inner guidance is trying to say. Practices such as meditation, deep breathing, or simply spending time in nature can clear mental fog and strengthen intuitive clarity. The calmer and more centered you become, the louder and clearer your intuition sounds. In leadership and personal relationships alike, those who cultivate intuition have a distinct advantage. They sense the true needs and fears of those around them, anticipate conflicts before they arise, and respond with empathy and insight. They navigate complex social dynamics with grace because they see beyond the obvious. Their decisions carry the weight of deeper understanding, and their connections hold more meaning because they are based on genuine insight. Your intuition is a resource that's always available, a beacon guiding you through uncertainty and complexity. When you commit to sharpening this skill, you don't just improve your ability to sense motives and emotions, you transform your entire approach to life. You move from reacting to responding, from confusion to clarity, from isolation to connection. To unlock your intuition's full potential, commit to being curious about yourself and others. Ask questions not just with words but with your whole being. Notice what feels true and what feels off. Trust that your instincts are rooted in experience and wisdom, even if they don't come with immediate explanation. With practice, patience, and presence, your intuitive sense will become a powerful tool that enriches every interaction and decision. Remember, intuition is not magic. It is a skill grounded in attention, awareness, and emotional intelligence. It grows when nurtured and fades when ignored. By valuing and developing this inner voice, you gain an extraordinary ability to see beneath the surface, understand what's truly at stake, and act with clarity and compassion. This is the mark of someone who doesn't just live on the surface of life, but masters its deeper currents. Chapter 10. Respond thoughtfully to feedback to grow stronger relationships. Feedback is the raw material for growth, the bridge that connects where you are now to where you can become. If you can learn to receive it thoughtfully, you unlock the door to stronger relationships, greater self-awareness, and a deeper level of trust with those around you. How you respond to feedback is far more important than the feedback itself. It's the response that defines your character, sharpens your mind, and strengthens your bonds. Many people react to feedback with defensiveness, denial, or even anger. These reactions create walls where bridges could be built. But when you choose to listen openly and respond with calm reflection, you show maturity and respect, not just for the other person, but for yourself. Feedback, especially when it's honest and constructive, is a gift wrapped in challenge. It requires courage to accept because it often shines a light on our blind spots, areas we might not want to face. Yet, this light is what fuels progress. To respond thoughtfully, begin by setting aside the urge to react immediately. When someone offers feedback, your first instinct may be to justify or explain yourself. Instead, pause. Take a breath. Consider what's being said without judgment. This simple shift, from reaction to reflection, changes the entire dynamic. It signals that you value the other person's perspective and that you are willing to explore your own actions with honesty. This openness invites further dialogue rather than shutting it down. An essential part of this process is listening not just to the words, but to the intent behind them. Often, feedback can be wrapped in emotion or delivered clumsily, but if you dig deeper, you'll find the underlying desire is usually positive, to help you improve or to protect the relationship. Recognizing this intention helps you separate content from delivery, making it easier to focus on what truly matters. Responding thoughtfully means honoring the courage it took for someone to speak up, even if the message was hard to hear. Emotional control is crucial when processing feedback. It's natural to feel vulnerable or criticized, but allowing those feelings to dictate your response often leads to conflict or withdrawal. Instead, acknowledge your emotions internally without letting them cloud your judgment. This internal regulation keeps the conversation constructive and positions you as someone who can handle truth with grace. When you demonstrate emotional strength, others feel safer being honest with you, and that honesty lays the foundation for authentic connections. Reflection after receiving feedback deepens its impact. Take time to consider what you heard, how it aligns with your self-view, and what changes might be necessary. This step turns feedback into action. Growth is not passive, it requires commitment and effort. By reflecting, you turn insight into intentional behavior, demonstrating that you respect the relationship enough to improve. This ongoing cycle of feedback, reflection, and adjustment becomes a powerful tool for personal and relational development. Acknowledging the feedback shows that you are listening and taking it seriously. A simple thank you for sharing that can go a long way toward maintaining goodwill. Even if you disagree with some points, acknowledging the effort and intention behind the feedback keeps the dialogue alive. This attitude encourages others to communicate openly, reducing misunderstandings and building mutual respect. Thoughtful acknowledgement is not about agreement, but about valuing communication. Sometimes feedback reveals patterns you've been unaware of. It might highlight recurring behaviors or blind spots that have strained relationships. Receiving these revelations with curiosity rather than resistance is a sign of strength. This mindset transforms feedback from a threat into an opportunity. You begin to see your growth as a collaborative process involving others who care about your development. By embracing this, you cultivate relationships based on shared commitment and mutual support. It's important to differentiate between constructive feedback and criticism meant to harm. Thoughtful response means evaluating the source and intent of the feedback. Not all comments deserve equal weight. When criticism is unfair or hostile, protect your boundaries without shutting down. You can respond calmly by acknowledging the comment and choosing not to engage further. This discernment preserves your energy for growth that is meaningful and aligned with your values. Incorporating feedback into your behavior takes discipline. It means holding yourself accountable even when it's uncomfortable. Change is rarely instant. It requires patience and persistence. When you visibly act on feedback, it signals to others that their input matters and that you are committed to evolving. This authenticity deepens trust and encourages continued honest communication. The process builds a cycle of positive reinforcement where growth becomes a shared journey rather than a solo struggle. Sometimes responding thoughtfully means asking clarifying questions. If feedback is vague or confusing, seek specifics gently. This shows your willingness to understand and engage fully. Clarifying questions prevent misinterpretations and allow you to target your efforts effectively. They also demonstrate humility, which strengthens respect and rapport. This proactive approach turns feedback sessions into collaborative problem-solving conversations. Your attitude toward feedback reflects your mindset about growth and relationships. Viewing feedback as a threat limits potential. Seeing it as a gift expands horizons. Cultivating this mindset means embracing discomfort as a necessary step on the path to improvement. It encourages you to lean into challenge rather than retreat from it. This perspective shifts your focus from protecting ego to pursuing excellence and connection. Practicing gratitude toward those who give you honest feedback transforms the relationship dynamic. Gratitude does not mean ignoring difficulty, but recognizing the courage it takes for someone to be truthful. When you express genuine thanks, it encourages ongoing openness and strengthens relational bonds. This attitude of appreciation creates a feedback culture that benefits everyone involved. Responding thoughtfully also includes giving yourself grace. Growth is a process, not a destination. You will make mistakes, and sometimes revert to old patterns. Instead of harsh self-judgment, approach yourself with patience and encouragement. This self-compassion fuels resilience and sustains motivation. When you model this attitude, you inspire others to do the same, fostering a supportive environment for mutual growth. Building stronger relationships through feedback requires trust, respect, and humility. When you respond with these qualities, you demonstrate that you value the connection more than being right. This priority shifts the dynamic from confrontation to collaboration. You invite others into a shared mission of growth that transcends individual ego. The results are relationships that deepen over time, rooted in honesty and care. The journey to respond thoughtfully is ongoing. Each feedback moment is a chance to practice and improve. Over time, your ability to handle feedback with grace becomes a defining strength. People will come to see you as approachable, wise, and grounded. Your relationships will thrive because they rest on a foundation of authentic communication and mutual respect. In moments of tension, remember that responding thoughtfully is an act of self-mastery. It reflects your commitment to your values and your relationships. It is a choice that separates those who stagnate from those who grow. By embracing feedback with open arms and a calm mind, you position yourself as someone who transforms challenge into opportunity and weakness into strength. Let this approach become your habit. Make it your standard to respond with curiosity, respect, and intentionality. Watch how your relationships evolve when feedback no longer feels like a threat, but a catalyst. You will find yourself not only growing stronger but also inspiring others to do the same. This is the power of responding thoughtfully, the key to unlocking deeper, more meaningful connections and a richer life experience. Chapter 11. Manage your facial expressions to convey confidence and warmth. Your face is the first messenger of your inner world. Master it, and you control the story others tell about you before you even speak. Managing your facial expressions isn't about masking who you are. It's about intentionally showing the confidence and warmth that build bridges and open doors. When your expressions align with your purpose, you become magnetic, approachable, and powerful in every interaction. Facial expressions are a language unto themselves. They communicate emotions faster and more truthfully than words can. Imagine walking into a room where your face immediately signals calm assurance and genuine friendliness. People are naturally drawn to that energy. They sense your confidence without you needing to say a word. This subtle art requires awareness and practice, but mastering it transforms how you influence and connect with the world. Confidence begins with a relaxed, open face. Tension around the jaw or forehead signals stress or defensiveness, even when you feel composed inside. Becoming aware of these micro-expressions is the first step toward managing them. Check in with yourself regularly. Notice if your brows furrow or your lips press tight. These small signs can create barriers, making others feel guarded or uncomfortable. Releasing this tension softens your face and invites connection. A warm expression stems from genuine emotion. It can't be faked without feeling hollow. The key is to cultivate a mindset of kindness and curiosity toward others. When you look at someone with interest and empathy, your eyes light up naturally. This light creates a warmth that is infectious. People sense authenticity and respond with trust. Practice engaging your eyes to reflect attention rather than distraction, because where your eyes go, your energy flows. Smiling is a powerful tool, but must be sincere to be effective. A forced smile can seem insincere and off-putting. Instead, let your smile grow from a place of appreciation or positive intent. Even in challenging situations, finding a small moment of gratitude or hope can soften your expression and signal resilience. This kind of smile creates an atmosphere where honest conversation and cooperation flourish. Your facial expressions are closely tied to your breathing and posture. Shallow breaths or slumped shoulders can lead to expressions that betray nervousness or doubt. By consciously breathing deeply and maintaining an upright posture, you support a calm, confident face. This alignment signals to your brain that you are in control, which naturally reflects outwardly. Developing this mind-body connection enhances the authenticity of your expressions. Be mindful of the cultural and situational context when managing your expressions. Different environments may call for subtle adjustments. In professional settings, a composed and attentive expression conveys respect and reliability. In personal interactions, more relaxed and animated expressions can build warmth and rapport. Flexibility in your facial communication demonstrates social intelligence and emotional adaptability. Mirror exercises are a practical way to develop control over your facial expressions. Spend time observing your face as you practice different emotions: calm, interest, joy, concern. Notice how each feeling shifts your muscles and what message it sends. This self-observation builds awareness and helps you choose the expression that best supports your intent in real-life situations. Your eyes are a particularly powerful part of your expression. Softening your gaze can reduce perceived hostility or impatience. When you maintain steady eye contact without staring, you convey confidence and engagement. Avoiding eye contact can suggest insecurity or disinterest, while excessive blinking or darting eyes can reveal anxiety. Practice maintaining natural, relaxed eye contact to build trust and authority. Facial expressions also play a critical role in managing conflict. When tensions rise, your face can either escalate or de-escalate the situation. Calm, composed expressions signal that you are open to dialogue, while tight, angry expressions may provoke defensiveness. Learning to regulate your expressions during difficult moments allows you to guide conversations toward resolution instead of confrontation. Subtle gestures, such as a slight nod or raising your eyebrows in acknowledgement, enhance your facial communication. These movements show that you are actively listening and validating others' feelings. They invite further sharing and demonstrate respect. When combined with a warm smile or attentive eyes, these small cues create a powerful impression of empathy and presence. Self-confidence is visible through relaxed facial muscles. When you trust yourself, your face relaxes naturally. This ease attracts people and opens doors to opportunities. Conversely, habitual tension or negative expressions can push others away. Training your face to hold confident expressions, even when you feel unsure, helps build the internal state of confidence. Over time, your external expressions reinforce your inner beliefs. Emotional authenticity is key. While managing your expressions intentionally, avoid becoming robotic or overly controlled. The goal is to convey your true feelings in a way that serves connection, not to hide them completely. When you express genuine emotion with clarity, people respond to your humanity. This balance between control and authenticity builds deep, meaningful relationships. Environmental factors can influence your facial expressions as well. Stressful or chaotic surroundings may trigger unconscious negative expressions. Developing habits like pausing to breathe deeply before engaging helps reset your expression to one of calm confidence. This practice acts as a buffer, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Using feedback from trusted friends or mentors can accelerate your progress in managing facial expressions. Sometimes, you may not realize how your face reads to others. Honest input helps you identify habits that undermine your intended message. Being open to this feedback demonstrates humility and a growth mindset, essential qualities for personal and professional success. Remember that your face is a powerful leadership tool. Leaders who command respect often do so with a calm, warm expression that reassures and inspires. You don't need loud words or aggressive postures to influence. A single look of steady confidence can be enough. Cultivating this presence allows you to lead by example, creating environments where people feel safe, motivated, and valued. In social interactions, matching your facial expression to the tone of the conversation creates harmony. If someone shares joy, mirroring that happiness with a bright expression builds connection. When someone shares difficulty, a concerned or gentle expression shows empathy. This emotional attunement strengthens bonds and fosters deeper communication. Managing your facial expressions also helps regulate your own emotions. The act of smiling can trigger positive feelings in your brain, reducing stress and enhancing mood. This feedback loop between expression and emotion can be harnessed to boost your resilience in challenging moments. Training yourself to adopt positive expressions is a simple yet powerful tool for emotional self-care. Be mindful of micro-expressions, the brief, involuntary facial movements that reveal true feelings. Becoming aware of your own micro-expressions helps you catch subtle emotional shifts and adjust your expression before it sends unintended signals. This skill also enhances your ability to read others, deepening your understanding and empathy. Practice patience with yourself as you develop this skill. Changing habitual facial expressions takes time and consistent effort. Celebrate small wins, like noticing when you naturally soften your face or smile genuinely, and build from there. With regular practice, managing your expressions will become second nature and a potent asset in your personal and professional life. Your face is a mirror to your soul and a window to your intentions. When you manage your expressions with intention, you take control of the narrative you present to the world. This control empowers you to create first impressions that resonate, relationships that flourish, and opportunities that multiply. It's a daily practice that pays lifelong dividends. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine enhances your facial awareness. Spend moments during the day scanning your face for tension or closed expressions. Make micro-adjustments, relax your jaw, lift the corners of your mouth, soften your eyes. These small acts keep your face tuned to convey confidence and warmth effortlessly. When you master this art, your presence becomes magnetic. People feel drawn to your calm assurance and genuine kindness. You communicate more than words ever could, and you do it with authenticity. This mastery becomes a cornerstone of your personal brand and leadership style, setting you apart as someone who commands respect while remaining approachable. Ultimately, managing your facial expressions is a powerful form of self-expression. It reflects your inner state and shapes the way others experience you. By taking control of this non-verbal communication, you create a powerful tool for influence, connection, and success. Your face becomes a beacon of confidence and warmth that lights the way in every interaction you encounter. Chapter 12. Notice energy shifts to navigate social dynamics smoothly. Your ability to feel the energy in a room before a single word is spoken is a rare superpower. Sharpen it, and you'll never be confused in a social situation again. Navigating human interaction is not just about listening to words or observing body language, it's about sensing shifts in energy, those subtle changes in tone, posture, silence, and tension that speak louder than anything else. When you tune into this invisible current, you begin to read between the lines, feel the emotional temperature, and respond in ways that keep the flow smooth, grounded, and in your control. Every social dynamic carries a distinct rhythm. It's either flowing or clashing, expanding or tightening. You've been in rooms where everyone feels comfortable, where conversation flows easily, laughter is shared, and people naturally open up. That's positive energy at work, unspoken but powerful. And you've also felt it when everything goes cold. A word said too sharply, a look that lands wrong, or someone enters the space carrying tension, and suddenly the atmosphere changes. Recognizing those transitions in real time is what sets emotionally intelligent individuals apart. They don't guess how others feel. They know, not through magic, but through mindful attention. It starts with stillness. If your mind is always racing with what to say next, or how you're being perceived, you miss the cues that matter most. Energy shifts can be as small as a pause that lingers just a second too long, a glance that carries discomfort, or a sudden lack of engagement. To catch them, you need presence. You need to be grounded in the moment, paying attention not only to what's being said, but to what's being felt. There is always energy being exchanged in conversations. When someone shares a personal story, they're offering more than just words. They're sharing their emotional state. How you respond either keeps that door open or causes it to shut. If you overlook the subtle vulnerability in their tone or body language, you might respond too casually and miss the moment. But if you tune in, if you sense the weight behind their words, you can adjust. You can soften your voice, offer empathy, hold eye contact, and match their emotional rhythm. That's how trust is built. Social intuition is not about guessing intentions, it's about staying alert to emotional patterns. You learn to feel when someone's mood has changed even if they haven't said it. Their energy drops slightly, or their engagement dips. Maybe their laugh loses its authenticity, or they suddenly look away more often. These are not coincidences, they are signals. And when you pick them up early, you can steer the interaction back into harmony. You can ask the right question, make the right gesture, or simply hold space with a reassuring silence. But this isn't just about others. You must also become aware of how your energy affects the room. Your presence can uplift or drain, calm or agitate. If you enter a space with anxious, defensive or aggressive energy, people feel it even if you don't speak. That's why self-regulation is essential. If you can manage your internal energy, you won't unintentionally shift the dynamic in negative ways. The calmer you remain, the more balanced your presence becomes, and that stability influences everyone around you. Awareness of energy shifts can help you avoid unnecessary conflict. Most arguments don't explode suddenly, they build up in small, unnoticed ways. Someone feels unheard. Another feels disrespected. Silence turns tense. If you're paying attention, you'll feel the moment things begin to tip. And instead of reacting defensively or dismissively, you can pause, adjust your tone, validate the other person, and guide the interaction back to balance. This doesn't just prevent problems, it earns you immense respect. In leadership, this ability is invaluable. Teams thrive when their leaders can sense how people are feeling. A good leader doesn't wait until someone burns out. They notice when someone's energy begins to fade, when enthusiasm turns to fatigue, or when collaboration becomes forced. By noticing these patterns early, they can step in with empathy, encouragement, or a change of pace. They maintain harmony not through control, but through emotional precision. Energy doesn't lie. People might say they're fine, but their body language, eye contact, and emotional frequency will always reveal the truth. If you want to build deeper relationships, trust the energy you feel more than the words you hear. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, "I noticed something's changed. Are you okay?" That single observation can break walls that words alone never could. Navigating energy shifts also requires emotional discipline. Not every uncomfortable moment needs to be confronted. Sometimes it's about holding your center while others work through their own emotional storms. You don't absorb their energy, you witness it without letting it hijack your own state. This is how you maintain peace within yourself, even when the environment is tense. And from that inner peace, you're able to respond with clarity instead of chaos. Trusting your gut plays a key role in this. Intuition is your internal compass. It picks up patterns your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Reflect on it. Ask yourself, what changed? Did their mood shift? Did my energy cause a reaction? The more you ask these questions, the more you'll refine your intuitive sense, and the more accurately you'll move through complex social terrain. One of the most powerful ways to practice sensing energy shifts is to slow down in every interaction. Don't rush to speak. Don't force a point. Don't try to fill every silence. Let conversations breathe. Let emotions show themselves. In the silence, you'll notice the truth. You'll feel if someone pulls away or leans in, if they're energized or closed off. These moments of observation are gold. They give you the insight to adjust your approach and protect or deepen the connection. This kind of awareness creates an almost sixth sense in you. You can walk into a room and feel whether people are connected or disconnected, whether they're relaxed or guarded. You can sense whether a conversation is building trust or silently creating distance. And with that information, you can guide, support, and lead in ways others cannot. Energy awareness also gives you the ability to know when to leave. Sometimes, the energy turns so heavy, so toxic, so resistant to clarity, that the smartest thing to do is step away. Not every room deserves your full presence. Not every dynamic can be fixed. Knowing when to remove yourself protects your peace and keeps your energy sharp for places and people who respect it. This isn't about being hypersensitive to every shift. It's about developing a calm attunement to the emotional flow of your surroundings. You become someone who sees what others miss. You pick up tension before it erupts, feel connection before it's voiced, and sense distance before it becomes detachment. These insights allow you to be a peacemaker, a connector, and a quiet force of leadership in every setting. You'll notice that the people who are most influential in life are not the loudest or the most dominant. They are the ones who stay emotionally attuned. They know when to speak and when to stay quiet. They know when someone needs encouragement or space. They adapt, not by changing who they are, but by reading the energy in the room and choosing the response that strengthens the moment rather than fractures it. This is a form of mastery few develop, but it is accessible to anyone who pays attention. Begin with your own emotions. Notice how your energy shifts throughout the day. Track how your mood influences your behavior. Then observe how people respond to you. With every reflection, you build awareness. With every adjustment, you build wisdom. And with consistent practice, you become someone who moves through life with grace, balance, and emotional strength. In social situations, you stop trying to dominate or impress. Instead, you observe, connect, and respond. You move with the moment instead of against it. You recognize when someone's energy changes and respond in a way that either supports them or preserves your own well-being. This ability builds deep connections and protects you from emotional volatility. As you grow in this skill, you'll notice fewer misunderstandings. You'll experience less drama, fewer unnecessary arguments, and more meaningful relationships. Why? Because you'll be operating in alignment with what's actually happening, not just what's being said. You'll stop forcing interactions and start flowing with them. And in that flow, everything becomes clearer, smoother, and more powerful. Energy doesn't speak in words, but it tells the truth. If you listen, it will guide you through every relationship, decision, and challenge you face. Keep your awareness sharp, your presence steady, and your heart open, and you will navigate any room with clarity, strength, and emotional intelligence that never goes unnoticed. Chapter 13. Apply respect consistently to earn trust and cooperation. Respect is the invisible currency that buys you trust, influence, and lasting cooperation. And the moment you start applying it consistently, everything in your relationships begins to shift. The way you treat people when nobody's watching, the tone you choose when you're under pressure, the patience you practice with those who can't offer you anything in return, these are the moments that define your character and determine the quality of your life. You don't get trust by demanding it. You earn it. And nothing earns it faster or deeper than consistent respect. It's not a one-time gesture or a convenient mask you put on in front of the right people. Real respect shows up in how you talk, how you listen, how you follow through, how you make people feel seen. When you make it a standard in how you live, not just a situational tool, others sense it, and once they do, their guard drops. Their cooperation rises, and you stop having to chase results because trust starts doing the heavy lifting for you. Respect starts with listening, not just hearing, but actually paying attention. When someone speaks, give them your full focus. It sounds simple, but most people fail at this because they're too caught up thinking of what they want to say next. They listen to respond, not to understand. That's disrespect in disguise. But when you give someone your attention, without interrupting, without judging, without needing to control the conversation, they feel it. They feel respected. And from that feeling, trust is born. Consistency matters more than intensity. One respectful act doesn't mean much if it's followed by neglect, sarcasm, or condescension. People don't trust based on what you did once. They trust based on how you show up over time. If your respect comes and goes depending on your mood, your environment, or what you can gain from a person, you will lose credibility fast. But if you treat the janitor with the same dignity as the CEO, if you show up with grace regardless of how others behave, you will stand out in a world full of emotional inconsistency and self-interest. Respect doesn't mean agreeing with everyone. It means treating their perspective with decency even when you disagree. That's emotional maturity. That's strength. Weak people get defensive when someone challenges them. Strong people stay calm, ask questions, and honor the other person's right to feel the way they feel. It doesn't cost you anything to be respectful, but it can cost you everything when you aren't. You cannot build influence by controlling others, but you can lead them by making them feel valued. Respect creates safety. When people feel respected, they open up, they collaborate, they listen, they care. If you want to lead a team, raise a family, or grow a business, you must create an environment where respect is non-negotiable, not just from the top down, but in every direction. A culture of respect is the foundation of loyalty, creativity, and resilience. And this respect must extend to yourself, because if you don't respect your own time, your own values, your own standards, then others won't either. Self-respect is the baseline. It's the message you send to the world about what you accept and what you don't. It's how you train people to treat you. When you show up late to your own goals, when you break promises to yourself, when you tolerate being mistreated, you lower your value in your own eyes and in theirs. But when you live with discipline, when you speak up with integrity, when you hold yourself accountable, you elevate your presence. People notice. People respond. In every interaction, you have a choice: to contribute to connection or conflict, to inspire respect or to create distance. And that choice is reflected in the small things: how you respond when someone's struggling, how you behave when no one's keeping score, how you treat people who have nothing to offer you. These moments are not minor. They're everything. They build the quiet foundation that every strong relationship stands on. And people remember how you made them feel. Long after they forget your words or your advice, they remember the energy you brought into the room. If they felt belittled, judged, or dismissed, it will linger. But if they felt seen, heard, and respected, that feeling will echo. That's what trust is. It's not an idea, it's an emotion. It's the feeling that you're safe in someone's presence, that you matter to them. And consistent respect is how you cultivate that feeling over and over until it becomes unshakable. When you treat people with respect, even when they've failed, you give them a path back to their better self. You remind them that they're more than their mistakes. And often, that quiet act of belief is what triggers their transformation. But when you shame or dismiss them, they shut down. They build walls, they protect their pride and close the door to growth. If you want to help others rise, you must separate their behavior from their worth. Call out the mistake without crushing the person. That's respect. That's power. In moments of tension, your ability to stay respectful is what keeps the bridge from burning. Conflict doesn't destroy relationships. Disrespect does. You can have disagreements and still walk away stronger if you maintain dignity. But the moment your tone turns toxic, the damage begins. Choose your words with care. Be firm but never cruel. Be honest but never harsh. Express the truth, but always from a place of compassion. That's how you earn cooperation, not just in the moment, but for a lifetime. People want to be seen, not just tolerated, but truly valued. Respect is what communicates that value. It tells them, you matter, you're worthy of kindness, you're deserving of my full attention. When you make someone feel this way, even in small ways, you unlock something inside them. You build trust without effort because they feel safe with you. And that safety becomes the soil where loyalty and connection grow. You'll notice something else too. The more you live with respect, the less effort you need to manage drama, misunderstandings, or manipulation. Because when people trust you, they don't question your motives. They don't assume the worst. They give you grace. That's the power of consistency. You stop having to defend yourself, explain yourself, or recover from emotional messes, because you've built a reputation that protects you. Even when respect isn't returned, stay consistent, not because others deserve it, but because you do. Your behavior should never depend on how someone else treats you. That's reactive living. That's emotional slavery. But when you live by your values regardless of the situation, you stay in control. You move from a place of power. And over time, even those who doubted you will start to notice, and many will begin to mirror the energy you bring. This is how you influence without forcing. This is how you change rooms without shouting. You lead with quiet strength. You win people's cooperation, not through pressure, but through example. You set a tone that others respect, even if they don't say it. And over time, you become the one people trust, not because of what you say, but because of how you consistently treat them. Respect is the key to all human connection. And like any key, it only works when you use it. Not occasionally, not conditionally, but as a lifestyle, a principle, a standard you hold no matter what. It must be stronger than your ego, deeper than your mood, and more important than your pride. Because when respect becomes your default, trust becomes your reward. In every room you walk into, you're building a legacy. The words you choose, the energy you bring, the grace you give, that's what people will remember. That's what will echo when your name is spoken. Not how clever you were, not how much you achieved, but how you treated others in the process. And if you want a life built on real strength, on real impact, then make this your mission. Apply respect consistently, and trust will follow you wherever you go. Chapter 14. Develop social curiosity to remain genuinely interested in others. If you want to unlock the true power of connection, stop trying to be interesting and start becoming genuinely interested. That's the doorway to influence, depth, and unforgettable relationships. When you shift the focus from yourself to others, not as a tactic, but as a way of life, everything about your communication starts to evolve. You listen differently. You ask better questions. You begin to see beneath the surface of people, and they feel it. They respond not just to your words, but to the energy you bring. And that energy says, I'm here with you, not above you, not ahead of you, just with you. Most people drift through conversations without presence. They nod, smile, speak, but never really connect. Because their curiosity is dead. Their attention is stuck in their own world. But when you cultivate social curiosity, you create emotional gravity. You pull people in because you make them feel significant. Not with flattery, not with strategy, but with attention so real, it cuts through the noise of superficial talk. Think about it. When's the last time someone really leaned into your story, asked thoughtful questions, remembered what you said, and made you feel like your words mattered? Rare, right? That's what makes social curiosity so powerful. It's rare. It's unexpected. And in a world starving for real attention, the person who brings it becomes unforgettable. Social curiosity means you approach every interaction with a desire to understand, not to impress. You stop scanning for an opportunity to speak, and instead, you start noticing the quiet details, the shifts in tone, the hesitation between words, the unspoken emotions underneath someone's story. That's where the real connection lives. And the more you listen with curiosity, the more people start showing you their truth. Genuine interest can't be faked. People can feel the difference between someone asking questions out of obligation and someone asking because they truly care. If you want others to open up, you must bring your whole presence into the moment. That means dropping the need to perform. That means silencing the part of your mind that keeps checking how you're being perceived. Because real connection doesn't live in performance, it lives in presence. When you develop this quality, your relationships stop being transactional. They stop being based on what you can get. Instead, they become built on depth, trust, and emotional substance. You'll find that even brief conversations become rich. Small talk turns into meaningful insight. And you'll start to see people not for what they do, but for who they are. This isn't just about being polite or socially smooth. It's about being fully alive in your interactions. It's about waking up to the fact that every person carries a story you've never heard. Every face hides a life you can't see. And when you show up with the kind of curiosity that asks, what's behind this person's words? What are they not saying? What matters most to them? You step into a deeper level of understanding. People are used to being overlooked. They're used to being tolerated, managed, or dismissed. But when they meet someone who sees them, who actually wants to understand their experiences, their values, their journey, they light up. They become more open, more vulnerable, more cooperative. That's the power of curiosity. It disarms egos. It lowers defenses. It replaces judgment with empathy. You begin to notice how every person has something to teach you, how every experience they've lived through is a piece of wisdom waiting to be revealed to someone patient enough to listen. And when you stop needing to dominate conversations, you start absorbing far more than you could ever offer. You learn, you grow, you build relationships that are fueled by mutual respect, instead of shallow entertainment. Even in conflict, curiosity can transform everything. When someone lashes out, instead of reacting, you ask, what pain is behind this? When someone disagrees, you ask, what are they protecting with that belief? These questions shift your emotional state. They pull you out of ego and into understanding. And from that place, you respond with grace instead of impulse. Curiosity also sharpens your intuition. The more you listen deeply, the more you begin to sense the patterns behind people's behaviors. You pick up on inconsistencies, emotional shifts, and subtle cues that others miss. And this gives you an edge, not to manipulate, but to connect with precision. You start responding not just to words, but to the emotions behind them. You begin to discover that everyone wants to be known. Beneath the masks, beneath the roles they play in society, people are yearning to be understood. And if you become the kind of person who seeks to understand without agenda, you become rare. You become trusted. People will come to you not because of your credentials, but because of the way you make them feel seen. And here's the deeper truth. When you become curious about others, you also learn more about yourself. You begin to see your assumptions, your biases, your habits in how you listen. You start to recognize the moments when your ego wants to interrupt, when your impatience rises, when your mind wanders. And in that self-awareness, you grow. Because curiosity isn't just outward-facing, it's a mirror. It shows you where you can improve your presence, your empathy, your openness. You can practice this everywhere, with strangers, with friends, with people you've known your whole life. Ask deeper questions. Listen not to correct, but to discover. Look for the uniqueness in others, even when it's hidden beneath layers of fear or defensiveness. And most importantly, approach every conversation with the mindset that this person, right here, right now, is worth your full attention. Start asking the kind of questions that unlock people. What excites them? What are they afraid of? What keeps them going when life gets hard? What do they dream about in quiet moments? These are the questions that build trust, and when asked with sincerity, they can shift someone's entire mood, because finally they feel understood. Social curiosity also helps you become more adaptable. You start seeing how different personalities operate. You learn how to speak in ways that resonate with different emotional languages. You learn when to lean in and when to give space, when to encourage and when to just listen. You become emotionally fluent, and this fluency allows you to thrive in any social situation, not because you're manipulative, but because you're tuned in. Being curious doesn't make you weak or passive. It makes you strategic and emotionally intelligent. You stop wasting energy on trying to impress people, and instead you invest your energy in connecting. That's how influence grows, organically, over time, through real presence and sincere engagement. You don't need to know everything. You just need to care enough to ask. To be fascinated by people instead of fixated on proving yourself. That shift in intention is what turns forgettable conversations into meaningful bonds. It's what makes people remember you, not because of your achievements, but because of how you made them feel human. Practice noticing the energy behind someone's words. Practice asking, what do they need right now? Encouragement, validation, space. This isn't about fixing anyone. It's about being with them. It's about showing up fully. That's what curiosity does. It invites people to be real. And when you create that space, they will rise into it. This kind of presence is rare in a world addicted to distraction. It's powerful because it's pure. No script, no performance, just one human being genuinely wanting to understand another. That's where all true connection begins. And the best part, you don't need to be loud, charismatic, or extroverted to do this. You just need to care. Deeply, authentically, quietly. You need to let go of the need to be the center of attention and instead become the kind of person who gives others the spotlight, who finds joy in discovering the world through their eyes. When you make this shift, you'll be shocked at how people respond. They'll start opening up to you more. They'll trust you faster. They'll want to work with you, confide in you, support you. Not because you asked, but because you earned it. Through attention, through sincerity, through curiosity. And over time, your presence alone becomes powerful, because people know that when you're around, they'll be seen, heard, and understood. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what builds your influence. That's what opens doors, not just in relationships, but in every area of your life. Social curiosity isn't a skill you turn on and off. It's a way of living. It's a mindset that sees every human as worthy of attention, every moment as a chance to learn, and every interaction as an opportunity to connect. And when you live this way, you don't just improve your relationships, you elevate your entire life. Chapter 15. Practice humility to admit mistakes and foster connection. True power doesn't come from pretending you're always right. It comes from having the strength to admit when you're wrong. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more honest ones. The kind who can say, I made a mistake, and mean it. The kind who don't hide behind ego or status. The kind who can drop their guard, take responsibility and grow from it. That's what creates trust. That's what builds deep, real human connection. Not flawless performance, but humble ownership. Humility is not weakness. It's not about putting yourself down or pretending you're less capable. Humility is strength under control. It's the quiet confidence to say, I still have things to learn. It's the self-awareness to recognize that no matter how far you've come, you're still a work in progress. And when you live from that place, you start showing up differently. You become more open, more grounded, more real. When you refuse to admit mistakes, you create distance between yourself and others. People can feel it. They see the deflection. They hear the justifications. And even if they don't call it out, the connection weakens. But when you step up and say, that was my fault, I missed something, I should have handled that better, everything changes. You become human. You become relatable. You show people that you value truth over pride. Humility opens doors that arrogance keeps shut. It turns tension into teamwork. It transforms criticism into collaboration. Because when people see you take ownership, they let their guard down too. They stop trying to protect themselves and start working with you instead of against you. They see that you're not above them, you're with them. That creates trust, and trust creates progress. It's easy to want to look good, to keep the image of control, of success, of confidence, but real respect doesn't come from pretending you never fall. It comes from showing that when you do, you get back up, honestly. People don't follow those who always look polished. They follow those who are authentic, who tell the truth, who take the hit and still keep going. Practicing humility means giving up the need to be right all the time. It means understanding that being respected is more important than being admired. When you admit mistakes, you send a powerful message to the people around you. I value growth more than ego. I care about getting it right more than looking right. And in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. In relationships, humility is the glue. Without it, arguments escalate, egos clash, and nobody listens. But when even one person can say, "You're right, I didn't see that clearly," it changes the entire energy. Walls come down, conversations open up, healing begins. Humility doesn't just repair connection, it deepens it, because it shows that you care more about understanding than winning. Humility also builds credibility. When people know that you're willing to take responsibility, they trust you more. They know you won't throw others under the bus. They know you'll own your part. And that reliability becomes your reputation. It makes people want to work with you, rely on you, and learn from you. Even in leadership, humility is essential. The best leaders aren't the ones who always have the answers. They're the ones who listen, who ask questions, who say, "I don't know. Let's figure it out together." That humility creates space for innovation, for better ideas, for collective wisdom. It allows others to step up, contribute, and grow. And it turns leadership into something that lifts everyone, not just the person in charge. Sometimes humility means apologizing first, even when you weren't completely wrong. It means choosing peace over pride. It means recognizing that preserving the relationship is more important than proving a point. And yes, that's hard, but it's powerful, because it shows maturity. It shows depth. It shows that your identity isn't tied to always winning, but to always improving. When you practice humility, your ego doesn't run the show. Your values do. And people feel that. They feel the difference between someone who's trying to look impressive and someone who's trying to live with integrity, and they trust the latter. They're drawn to the one who can say, "Here's where I went wrong. Here's what I've learned. Here's how I'll do better next time." The beautiful thing about humility is that it's disarming. It softens even the hardest moments. When tempers flare, when mistakes happen, when tension rises, humility can cut through all of it. Not by overpowering, but by lowering the temperature, by bringing honesty, by showing you're not there to defend yourself, you're there to grow. People don't expect you to be perfect. What they need is for you to be real, and real people mess up. They overlook things. They make bad calls. But what separates the strong from the shallow is how they respond. The shallow ones deflect, deny, or blame. The strong ones take a breath and take responsibility. That's what builds character. That's what earns trust. Every time you admit a mistake, you earn a little more respect from those who matter. You teach them that mistakes aren't the end. They're the beginning of deeper learning. You give them permission to be honest too. You create an environment where growth matters more than appearances. And that kind of space, it's rare, it's priceless, it's where real transformation happens. Don't confuse humility with shrinking. It's not about silencing your voice or lowering your standards. It's about having the courage to speak truth, even when it costs you something. It's about standing tall, not on the illusion of perfection, but on the foundation of integrity. In your daily life, start noticing the moments when you get defensive. Those are the moments to practice humility. Pause. Ask yourself, what part of this do I need to own? Then speak from that place. Not to manipulate, not to please, but to be real, to grow, to connect. And don't just practice humility in the big moments, practice it in the small ones. When you interrupt someone, acknowledge it. When you misjudge something, admit it. When you overlook a detail, own it. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes. And soon it's not something you try to do, it's just who you are. Humility also opens the door to feedback. When you're humble, you can receive correction without crumbling. You can hear hard truths without shutting down. Because you don't see feedback as an attack, you see it as a gift, a chance to improve, a signal that someone cares enough to help you grow. And when others see that, they start giving you more honest feedback. They trust you can handle it. And that honesty becomes a superpower. Because now you're not just growing from your own perspective, you're growing from the collective insight of those around you. Humility doesn't mean you downplay your strengths. It means you acknowledge them with balance. It means you know your value, but you don't need to broadcast it. It means you can celebrate your wins without rubbing them in people's faces. It means you can be confident without being arrogant. And that balance, it's magnetic. The people who leave a lasting impact aren't the loudest. They're the ones who lead with humility, who make others feel seen, who show that growth is more important than glory. They're the ones who walk into a room and make everyone else feel like they matter, not because they're trying to impress, but because they care. So if you want to build stronger relationships, start with humility. If you want to be a better friend, partner, teammate, or leader, start by admitting where you've messed up, and then follow through with change. That's the full circle of humility, not just saying I was wrong, but showing I'm committed to doing better. The truth is, everyone makes mistakes, but not everyone has the strength to own them. When you do, you separate yourself. You rise, not by stepping over others, but by standing in truth. That's how real respect is earned. That's how connection is formed. That's how trust is built. Be the kind of person who isn't afraid to be wrong. Be the kind of person who can say, I missed that, and I'm sorry. Be the kind of person who puts growth before ego, people before pride, truth before appearances. Because when you do that, you don't just build better relationships, You become a better version of yourself. In every interaction, you have a choice. You can protect your image, or you can protect your integrity. Choose the one that lasts. Choose humility. It's not always easy. It's not always comfortable, but it's always worth it. Chapter 16. Recognize social cues quickly to avoid misunderstandings often. The fastest way to ruin trust is to miss what someone isn't saying. In a world where most communication is non-verbal, you can't afford to be blind to the signals people are constantly giving off. Every shift in body language, every pause before a response, every subtle glance, they're all telling you something. And the people who pay attention to these cues are the ones who navigate life with clarity, connection, and confidence. They avoid unnecessary conflict. They prevent miscommunication before it starts. They don't need everything spelled out because they see what others miss. When you sharpen your awareness to social cues, you become more emotionally intelligent. You start understanding people's intentions, moods, and reactions without needing them to explain. And this matters. It matters in your relationships, in your work, in your leadership, and in the way people feel around you. Because misunderstanding someone can cost you more than just a conversation. It can damage a bond, derail a team, or shut down a meaningful opportunity. But recognizing the signs early can fix things before they break. Start paying attention to people's tone of voice. Listen not just to what they say, but how they say it. Are they hesitant, defensive, distant, excited, frustrated? A single sentence can carry 100 meanings depending on the energy behind it. If you miss that, you're reacting to words, not to reality. And that's where things go wrong. But when you match your response to what's actually going on beneath the surface, you connect on a deeper level. Then look at people's eyes. They tell you everything. Eye contact that's too long might be masking insecurity or confrontation. Eye contact that's missing altogether might signal discomfort, disinterest, or even dishonesty. Don't jump to conclusions, but don't ignore the signs either. Observing people closely teaches you patterns. You'll start noticing when something feels off. You'll catch a shift in energy before it explodes. And that gives you time to adjust your approach. Posture speaks volumes. Is the person leaning in or backing away? Are their arms crossed or are they open and relaxed? Is their body tense or at ease? People speak with their bodies long before they speak with words. And most of the time, if you're paying attention, you'll know how they feel without them saying anything. The key is to care enough to notice. Facial expressions are another language altogether. A raised eyebrow, a tight jaw, a subtle frown, a forced smile. These little things tell you when someone's being honest, when they're hiding something, when they're feeling safe, and when they're pulling away. Don't overlook them. When you recognize these micro-expressions, you're not just seeing a face, you're seeing the emotion behind the mask. Understanding social cues also means watching for silence. Not every response is verbal. Sometimes the most important message is the one that isn't spoken. When someone pauses, hesitates, or avoids a topic, that's not nothing. That's data. Don't bulldoze through it. Don't assume they have nothing to say. That moment of silence might be where the truth is hiding. Social awareness is not about being suspicious. It's about being tuned in. When you're present, when you really observe, you stop misreading people. You stop reacting based on your assumptions and start responding based on what's real. That level of presence builds trust. Because people can feel when you get them. They can feel when you're listening between the lines. One of the most damaging things in any relationship is assuming you understand someone when you don't. It happens all the time. You think someone's upset with you when they're just tired. You think they're being cold when they're actually overwhelmed. You take something personally that had nothing to do with you. These misinterpretations create distance, frustration, and unnecessary drama. But when you're good at reading the room, when you know how to observe, pause, and clarify, you prevent all of that. This doesn't mean you have to be a mind reader. You just have to be engaged. You have to care enough to notice what others miss. And that means being less focused on your next reply and more focused on their current signals. Slow down, watch, listen, not just with your ears, but with your attention. The more you practice, the better you get. One of the most powerful things you can say in a conversation is, "You seem a little off, what's going on?" That one sentence can diffuse tension, open a closed door, or show someone they're not invisible. And it only comes when you're paying attention. When you stop waiting to talk and start learning how to see. People remember how you make them feel, and when you notice things that others overlook, when you acknowledge what they're experiencing without them needing to explain, it makes them feel safe. It makes them feel seen. That kind of presence is rare, and it builds bonds that are unshakable. To recognize social cues, you also have to drop your ego. You have to be open to being wrong. Because sometimes what you think someone is expressing isn't the truth at all. They might be hiding something. They might be testing the waters. And if you're too sure of your assumptions, you'll miss the real story. So stay humble. Ask questions. Don't assume you already know. Practicing awareness in social dynamics is like training a muscle. At first, you'll miss things. You'll notice a change in tone after the moment has passed. You'll catch an awkward pause but not know what it meant. That's okay. Keep practicing. Over time, your intuition sharpens. Your empathy deepens. Your ability to respond effectively increases. Avoiding misunderstandings is not about being perfect. It's about being willing to see clearly. Most conflict isn't caused by bad intentions. It's caused by poor interpretation. You thought they meant one thing. They thought you understood another. Neither of you checked, and now there's tension. But all of that can be prevented when you slow down, observe carefully, and ask directly. People are constantly giving you information, not just with their words, but with how they stand, how they breathe, how they react. Learn to read that. Learn to adjust your approach based on the feedback you're receiving in real time. That doesn't mean you become a people pleaser. It means you become a communicator who values clarity more than control. This skill also protects you. When you can read people, you can tell when something's off. You can sense when someone's hiding something, or when their words don't match their behavior. That awareness can keep you from walking into manipulation, dishonesty, or drama. It allows you to move wisely, choose who to trust, and protect your energy from the wrong people. You don't need to guess how someone feels when you can read how they show up. But that means you have to be intentional. Put your phone down. Stop mentally rehearsing your next line. Be fully present with the person in front of you. Notice how they enter the room. Notice what shifts when certain topics come up. Notice who they become when they're comfortable versus when they're guarded. That contrast is everything. Don't underestimate how often people feel misunderstood. Most people walk around hoping someone will just get them without them having to explain everything. When you become that person, when you tune into the things they don't say, you create something powerful. You become the exception. And that makes you unforgettable. If you want to improve your relationships, your leadership, your influence, start by noticing more. Start by listening to the unspoken. Start by being the kind of person who doesn't need everything to be obvious in order to understand. That awareness changes the way people experience you, because you're no longer just hearing them, you're perceiving them. It's not just about catching signals, it's about respecting them. If someone seems closed off, don't force your agenda. If someone looks uneasy, create safety. If someone clearly wants space, give it. Reading the room isn't about getting what you want, it's about honoring what's real. And when you do that consistently, people trust you because they know you'll respond to who they are, not who you need them to be. In conversations, especially tough ones, tone matters more than logic. You might be saying all the right things, but if your energy is off, your message will get lost. That's why being aware of social cues also means being aware of your own. Notice how your presence affects others. Notice how your words land. Notice when people lean in versus when they pull back. That feedback is gold. Use it. The difference between someone who connects deeply and someone who gets ignored is almost always awareness. It's not talent, it's not intelligence, it's the willingness to be fully present, the discipline to observe more than you speak, the intention to care about how your words and actions are received, not just how they're delivered. Practice this everywhere, in meetings, in conversations with friends, in family dynamics, on phone calls, over dinner. Train yourself to notice shifts in energy. Train yourself to spot when someone's saying, "I'm fine," but clearly isn't, and then go deeper. Gently, kindly, with no agenda but connection. That's how you turn ordinary conversations into moments that matter. You don't need to master this overnight, but start. Start today. Start noticing just one thing you normally miss. A sigh, a glance, a twitch, a hesitation. Let that moment teach you something. Let it guide your next move, and then keep building on that skill. Over time, you'll stop stumbling into misunderstandings. You'll stop missing what was right in front of you. You'll stop living on the surface of your relationships, and you'll start operating with a level of depth and awareness that most people never reach. That's the edge. That's the advantage. That's the superpower of those who learn to read the invisible messages between the lines. Be that person. The one who sees what others don't. The one who listens beneath the noise. The one who can adjust, adapt, and align without being asked. Because when you recognize social cues quickly, you prevent unnecessary pain. You build stronger bonds, you create smoother interactions, and you walk through life with fewer regrets and more respect. Chapter 17. Strengthen your confidence to assert your thoughts respectfully. If you want to be heard in this world, you can't whisper your truth and expect others to feel your power. Confidence is not about being loud. It's not about dominating conversations or pushing others aside. Real confidence is quiet strength. It's the calm belief that your voice matters, your thoughts have value, and you don't need to shrink to make others comfortable. It's the power to speak up without putting others down. And the way you build that kind of confidence is by doing it again and again until it becomes who you are. Too many people hold back what they really want to say. They swallow their opinions. They stay silent in moments that call for courage, and then they carry the frustration of being overlooked, misunderstood, or ignored. But that frustration isn't caused by the world, it's caused by the habit of self-suppression. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you never speak up, you'll always be stepped over. The key is learning how to assert yourself without aggression. You don't have to yell to be clear. You don't have to argue to be taken seriously. There is a respectful way to express yourself that allows your voice to cut through without creating chaos. When your energy is grounded, when your words are chosen carefully, when your tone is firm but calm, people listen because they can feel your conviction without feeling threatened. Confidence comes from self-trust. It grows every time you speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. When you say what you actually mean, instead of what you think people want to hear, you start aligning your external world with your internal values. That alignment creates peace. You no longer walk away from conversations second-guessing yourself, wondering if you should have said more. You said it. You stood for it. And that self-respect starts to grow inside you like a fire. You don't need everyone to agree with you. That's not what confidence is. Confidence is being okay with disagreement and not needing to shrink in order to avoid it. It's knowing that your thoughts are valid, even if they're different. It's understanding that respect doesn't mean silence. It means expressing yourself in a way that honors both your perspective and the space you're in. Start small. You don't have to change overnight. Begin by voicing a simple opinion in a group. Share an idea when normally you'd stay quiet. Ask a question in a meeting. Challenge something that doesn't sit right with you. These moments matter. Every time you speak when fear tells you to stay silent, you chip away at that fear's power. And every time you stay quiet, you reinforce it. Assertiveness doesn't come from memorizing phrases or scripts. It comes from owning your experience. No one can take that from you. You can say, "This is how I see it," or "Here's what matters to me," or "I'd like to offer a different view." These aren't attacks, they're invitations to deeper understanding. And when delivered with respect, they earn respect. Don't wait for confidence to magically appear. Build it by taking action while you're still uncertain. You can be nervous and still speak up. You can be unsure and still stand your ground. Confidence is built in discomfort. You stretch your voice until it becomes strong. And once it is, you won't let others speak over you, not because you're defensive, but because you finally understand your worth. You don't owe anyone silence to keep the peace. Your opinions are not less valuable than someone else's, simply because they're different, and disagreeing respectfully doesn't make you rude, it makes you real. When you learn to speak clearly and calmly, when you remove emotional overload and focus on your message, you become someone people respect, even if they don't agree with you. So many people avoid confrontation because they fear rejection. But here's the truth. If someone walks away from you because you expressed your honest thoughts with respect, they were never really interested in knowing you. Real connection can handle tension. It grows through real conversations, not through pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, "That doesn't sit right with me," or "I see things differently." These simple sentences don't create enemies. They create space for truth. And people may push back, but if you stay calm, if you don't match their intensity, if you hold your line without raising your voice, you'll walk away with self-respect. That's worth more than approval. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to speak. Give it to yourself. Your ideas, your beliefs, your experiences, they matter. You've lived through things that shaped you. You've learned lessons that others haven't. That wisdom deserves a voice. And the more you use it, the more natural it becomes to own your place in any room. Don't confuse humility with silence. You can be humble and still speak with strength. You can acknowledge others while standing firm in your own view. It's not about being the loudest, it's about being grounded. Grounded people don't need to prove themselves. They don't need to dominate. They just know who they are, and they show up fully without apology. When you assert your thoughts respectfully, you create impact. You influence people without forcing them. You shift energy without creating resistance. You show others that it's possible to be strong and kind at the same time. That balance is rare, and it's what separates people who just talk from people who lead. Sometimes you'll be the only one in the room who sees something differently. That's when your voice matters most. Don't betray yourself by staying silent just to fit in. The people who make a difference are the ones who dare to stand alone when it's necessary. That takes courage, but the reward is freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from pretending. Freedom from the weight of unspoken truth. Train yourself to speak from a place of clarity. Before you respond, pause. Breathe. Get centered. Then speak. Don't react. Respond. Let your words reflect thought, not just emotion. When you speak with intention, people feel it. They feel your focus. They feel your sincerity. And that's what cuts through the noise. Respectful assertion is also about listening. It's not just about what you say, it's how well you understand the other side. When you listen deeply, you build credibility. People are more likely to hear you when they feel heard by you. So don't rush to respond. Let others speak. Let them feel seen. And then share your view, not as a rebuttal, but as an extension of the conversation. You can disagree without being disagreeable. That's the art. That's what true confidence looks like. It's not about being right. It's about being real. You don't need to win every argument. You just need to show up with honesty and composure. That alone will change the way people respond to you. Sometimes, people won't like your assertiveness. That's okay. Don't let their discomfort become your silence. You're not responsible for managing everyone's emotions. You are responsible for staying true to yourself. If you speak with respect and someone still reacts negatively, that's their growth edge, not your failure. Keep practicing. The more you assert yourself with clarity and respect, the more you'll feel your confidence solidify. It won't feel foreign anymore. It'll feel like who you are. You won't have to force it. You'll walk into rooms knowing your voice belongs there, not because someone else said so, but because you decided it does. This world needs more people who speak from their core. People who are honest without being harsh. People who are strong without being arrogant. People who don't need to shout to be heard. You can be that person, but only if you stop hiding behind politeness and start standing in truth. It's okay to take up space. It's okay to raise your hand. It's okay to correct someone when they've misunderstood you. It's okay to challenge an idea that doesn't feel right. You're not doing anything wrong by being visible. You're not hurting anyone by being honest. You're simply showing up, and that's what changes everything. Be the one who speaks when it matters. Be the one who isn't afraid of discomfort. Be the one who says what others are too afraid to say, but do it with respect, with calm and with strength. That combination makes you unshakable. That's how you stop being overlooked. That's how you start being heard. Your voice is not too much. Your ideas are not too bold. Your truth is not too inconvenient. Stand in it. Speak from it. Respectfully, clearly, consistently. That's how you build confidence. That's how you command respect. That's how you live with nothing to hide and nothing to prove. Chapter 18. Use storytelling to make your messages memorable and relatable. Stories are the most powerful tool you have to leave a permanent mark on someone's mind. People forget facts. They tune out lectures. They ignore advice. But they remember how a story made them feel. If you want your message to stick, If you want it to live beyond the moment, you must learn how to weave it into a story that hits the heart, not just the mind. You must learn how to connect your truth to their reality through something simple, human, and real. Think about the moments that have stayed with you in life, the lessons that shaped how you see the world. They probably weren't handed to you through a list or a rule book. They were passed down through someone's experience. You heard someone speak about a moment of pain, struggle, or breakthrough, and something inside you shifted. That's what stories do. They bypass the logic filter and speak directly to your soul. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with vulnerability. They don't want to be impressed. They want to feel understood. When you share a story that reveals your own process, your mistakes, your growth, your fight, they lean in because they recognize themselves in your journey. They see that you're not above them, you're beside them. And that creates trust. Every story you share carries energy. The tone, the emotion, the pacing, it all adds layers that pure information can never reach. You can tell someone to be strong, but it won't move them like a story about the day you had no choice but to be strong. You can give someone advice, but they won't truly hear it until they feel the stakes through the story behind it. That's why storytelling is not a technique. It's a bridge between human beings. When you share a story, don't try to be perfect. Be honest. Let people feel the tension, the confusion, the failure, and then the clarity that came on the other side. The transformation is what inspires. Nobody wants a flawless hero. They want to see someone who stumbled, got back up, and kept going, because that gives them permission to believe they can too. You don't need a dramatic past to tell a powerful story. Some of the most memorable stories are small, quiet moments that carry deep meaning. A conversation with your father, a walk you took alone when life was heavy, a decision you made when nobody was watching. These are the stories that build bridges. You just have to slow down and look at your life. There's power in the everyday, if you know how to frame it. Learn to pay attention to the details. Paint the picture with your words. Let people see what you saw, feel what you felt. Use your senses. Describe the room, the sounds, the tension in the air. Don't just tell the story. Let them live it with you. That's how you go from simply delivering a message to creating an experience. And don't be afraid to pause in your story. Silence adds weight. It lets the listener absorb the emotion. Sometimes the most powerful part of a story is the breath you take before the final line. It's that moment when everyone's leaning in, waiting, open. That's where the magic happens. That's when the message hits. When you tell stories, you humanize yourself. You stop being just a speaker, or a teacher, or a leader. You become someone they can relate to, someone they trust, someone they want to hear more from. Because you didn't just talk at them, you gave them a piece of yourself. The reason storytelling works so well is because we are wired for it. Since the beginning of time, people sat around fires and passed on wisdom through stories. Long before books, lectures, or podcasts, stories were the way we learned how to live. They taught us what mattered. They helped us remember. And that's still true today. If you want to lead, teach, or inspire, you have to stop thinking like a lecturer and start thinking like a storyteller. Don't just tell people what to do. Show them who you were before you knew what you know now. Let them walk that road with you. Let them feel the fear, the doubt, the moment everything changed. That's what makes your message unforgettable. But here's something most people get wrong. They try to make their story impressive. They try to polish it so much that it loses its soul. Don't do that. Keep it raw. Keep it honest. People don't want to hear about your perfect plan. They want to know how you handled the mess. They want the version where you almost gave up but didn't. That's what they'll carry with them. You don't need to be a writer or a performer to be a storyteller. You just need to be real. Talk the way you talk. Speak from your gut. Don't perform, connect. Let your story be a gift, not a show, and trust that the right people will hear what they need to hear, even if it's not wrapped in perfect words. The more personal your story is, the more universal it becomes. When you speak from your own truth, others find theirs in it. That's the paradox of storytelling. The more specific you are, the more people say, "That's me too." So don't water it down trying to appeal to everyone. Go deep, go real. That's where the power lives. And you don't need a new story every time. You can use the same story again and again if it carries truth. What matters is how you tell it. What matters is the intention behind it. Is it to teach, to encourage, to warn, to awaken? Know your reason, and then let the story do the work. When you master storytelling, you stop pushing your message. It starts pulling people in. They lean forward, they feel seen, they remember. That's the difference between noise and impact. You can flood someone with facts, or you can give them one story that lives in their heart for the rest of their life. You have stories inside you that could change people if you told them. You've lived through things others are still trying to understand. Don't hoard that wisdom. Share it. Let it breathe. Let it touch someone else's struggle. That's how your past becomes someone else's breakthrough. But storytelling isn't only about the past. It's also how you shape the future. You can tell stories about who you're becoming, about the vision you're working toward, about what's possible, not just what was. These stories spark imagination. They create momentum. They make people believe again. So whether you're trying to lead a team, teach a lesson, build a brand, or simply have more meaningful conversations, start using stories. They're not just nice to have. They're essential. They're the fastest way to turn information into inspiration. The fastest way to get someone to care. And once you start using storytelling intentionally, you'll notice people start to remember what you say. They'll quote your story back to you months later. They'll share it with others. They'll repeat the message, not because they were told to, but because they felt it deeply. That's when you know your words carried weight. Be the person who doesn't just talk, but who makes people feel. Be the one who leaves something behind after every conversation. Not just an idea, but a moment they carry with them. That's what stories do. That's what you can do if you're willing to show up, tell the truth, and let your journey be seen. So look back on your life. Pull out the stories that changed you. Sharpen them, shape them, use them. Because every time you tell one, you're not just saying something, you're giving something. A memory, a lesson, a spark. And that gift, when given from a place of authenticity, can ripple far beyond what you'll ever see. Chapter 19. Balance speaking and listening to create meaningful exchanges. If you want real connection in this life, you need to learn when to speak from the heart and when to close your mouth and listen with everything you've got. Most people miss the point of communication because they treat conversations like performances. They wait to speak. They prepare responses while the other person is still talking. They focus more on sounding right than being real. But meaningful exchanges don't happen when two people are trying to impress each other. They happen when both are trying to understand. The most powerful conversations are not dominated by noise. They're built on presence, on patience, on pauses. Because the value of communication isn't measured by how much you say, It's measured by how deeply the other person feels heard. You could speak for an hour and leave someone feeling empty. Or you could say one sentence after truly listening, and it could change everything. That's the difference awareness makes. When you listen well, you earn trust without asking for it. People open up to those who make them feel safe, not judged. When someone senses that you're not just waiting to talk but genuinely interested in their world, they start to share more than words. They show you their fears, their doubts, their hopes. That's where real human connection begins. But listening is not about silence. It's about attention. You can be quiet and still be disconnected. You can nod along while your mind is somewhere else. True listening means being fully there. It means absorbing, not reacting. It means hearing what's said and what's not. Because beneath every sentence, there's a deeper emotion trying to surface. And if you're too quick to speak, you'll miss it. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that your job in every conversation is to have the best answer. Sometimes your role is to simply make space. Let people breathe. Let them be messy, uncertain, or emotional without trying to fix it. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong enough to hold presence without needing control. That's a skill most never develop. Balance comes from maturity. It comes from knowing that not every silence needs to be filled. It comes from realizing that giving someone room to express themselves is not giving up your voice. It's elevating the moment. The people who know how to balance speaking and listening are the ones everyone wants to be around, because they don't just speak with clarity, they create room for others to feel valued. When you do speak, speak with intention. Let your words carry weight, not noise. Say what matters, speak to connect, not to dominate. Your voice is powerful when it's used precisely. You don't have to flood the space to make an impact. One sentence, spoken with honesty and relevance, often says more than a long speech filled with empty words. The key to balance is self-awareness. Know your habits. Ask yourself, do I interrupt too much? Do I wait my turn? Or do I take it before it's given? Do I really hear people? Or do I rush to offer advice? These questions matter, because until you become aware of how you communicate, you'll keep falling into patterns that push people away without realizing it. Listening is also how you learn. When you stop talking, you start noticing things. You pick up on tone, on hesitation, on shifts in energy. You see where people are wounded, where they're passionate, where they feel unseen. That kind of insight can only be gained by someone who's not just waiting to be heard, but is present enough to take in what's being revealed. Great leaders, mentors, friends, they all share this one trait. They don't just talk to you, they listen you into being. They reflect what you're saying back to you in a way that helps you see yourself more clearly. They don't hijack the conversation. They let it unfold, and in that space, something real is born. One reason people speak too much is because they're uncomfortable with silence. But silence is not the enemy. It's the space where depth happens. It's where reflection lives. If you can learn to be at ease with silence in a conversation, you create space for authenticity. You stop rushing. You start allowing. And that shift is where trust grows. It's also important to understand that speaking up is still necessary. This isn't about staying quiet forever. It's about knowing when your voice will serve the moment and when it won't. It's about understanding that communication isn't a competition. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to build bridges. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is "tell me more." When it is time to speak, speak from a place of clarity, Don't talk just to fill time. Don't speak just because you're nervous. Pause. Think. Then speak with conviction. Speak as if your words matter, because they do, but always leave space for the other person to add their voice. Make it a dialogue, not a monologue. You'll notice something when you start practicing this balance. People will gravitate toward you. They'll feel drawn to your presence. Not because you're the loudest in the room, but because you make space for others to feel significant. That's a rare gift, and it's one that changes relationships forever. The people who balance speaking and listening are the ones who create harmony in a chaotic world. They diffuse tension. They de-escalate arguments. They bring peace to heated rooms, not by overpowering others, but by anchoring the space in presence. That's leadership in its purest form. In personal relationships, this balance is everything. Arguments often spiral out of control because both people are fighting to be heard, and no one is listening. If just one person pauses, listens, reflects before responding, the entire energy shifts. You don't need both people to change. Just one can be enough to lead the interaction to a better place. The same applies in professional settings. If you want influence, learn to listen. Listen deeply in meetings. Let others speak fully before you share your thoughts. Then when you speak, you'll already have the advantage of knowing what matters to others. Your message will land more effectively because it's shaped by what you've already absorbed. This balance also builds emotional intelligence. It sharpens your empathy. It makes you more aware of how people feel, not just what they say. And once you develop that sensitivity, your communication becomes multidimensional. You no longer just respond, you respond wisely. There's a rhythm to great conversations, a back and forth that feels natural, not forced. Like music, it flows when both people are in tune, and that only happens when both sides are willing to listen and to speak in turn, without overpowering. That's what creates depth, not just surface talk. If you dominate every conversation, people will stop bringing you their truth. If you never speak, they'll never know who you really are. The goal is not one or the other. It's the ability to shift seamlessly between the two. To know when to hold space and when to fill it with something that uplifts, clarifies, or inspires. So the next time you're in a conversation, try something simple. Slow down. Resist the urge to jump in. Really listen. Then speak with care, not with control, but with contribution. You'll be surprised how the energy changes, how people lean in, how real connection begins. Don't underestimate the power of a well-timed question either. Questions invite others in. They show you're engaged. They deepen the conversation. They give people permission to explore their thoughts. And they often lead to far more meaningful exchanges than long explanations ever could. This balance isn't a talent you're born with. It's a skill you develop. It takes time. It takes mistakes. But the more you practice, the more naturally it becomes a part of you. Until one day, you're no longer thinking about it. You're just living it. Creating moments with your words and your presence that others remember long after. If you want people to feel heard, be someone who listens without needing to fix. If you want people to respect your words, speak them with care and don't waste them. If you want deeper connections in your life, balance your need to express with your willingness to receive. The people who master this balance are rare, but they are unforgettable, because in a world full of noise, they offer presence. In a world full of egos, they offer humility. In a world full of distractions, they offer attention. Be one of those people. Speak less, listen more, and when you speak, let it come from a place of truth, That's how you create conversations that matter. That's how you leave a mark, not just in the moment, but in someone's memory. Chapter 20. Commit daily to improving your social skills for life. If you want to go further in life, make people feel seen, heard, and understood every single day. That's not a gift you're born with. That's a discipline you develop. Social skills are not a luxury. They are a necessity. No matter your goals, your craft, your background, your ability to connect, communicate, and understand others will define the depth and quality of your life. The people who get ahead in any field aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who know how to talk to people. They're the ones who know how to make others feel important without saying much. And the truth is, this power is available to anyone who's willing to train it every day. If you wait until you need better social skills, it's already too late. You don't prepare during the moment. You prepare before it. Every time you interact with someone, whether it's a friend, a stranger, a colleague, you're getting a rep in. Every exchange is a chance to sharpen your ability to read, respond, relate, and reflect. Most people walk through life with poor social habits, not because they're incapable, but because they never committed to improving. They assume communication should come naturally. But nothing powerful in life comes from assumptions. Growth comes from commitment. Daily improvement isn't about grand gestures. It's about intentional practice in small, consistent moments. Look people in the eye. Remember their name. Listen with your body, not just your ears. Ask thoughtful questions. Speak with sincerity. Show appreciation. These habits, repeated every day, shape your identity into someone who naturally builds trust and connection. No one becomes great with people by accident. It's a decision. You choose to stop hiding behind awkwardness. You choose to let go of fear. You decide to stop avoiding conversations and start leaning into them. It begins by understanding that social skills are not for extroverts. They're for anyone who wants to master life. Your ability to make others feel valued is directly tied to your ability to lead, collaborate, and build lasting relationships. Don't lie to yourself by saying, "I'm just not good with people." That's not truth. That's a pattern you've accepted. And patterns can be broken. The first step is to believe that you can get better. The second step is to show up every day and prove it with your actions. Talk to the cashier with kindness. Greet people you pass with genuine presence. Start conversations with humility. Observe how people respond and adjust accordingly. That's how you build skill in the real world, through real interactions. The people who train their social intelligence aren't just better communicators, they're better decision makers. They know how to sense tension before it escalates. They know when to speak up and when to listen. They sense when someone needs support and when someone needs space. That awareness doesn't come from talent. It comes from repeated exposure, constant curiosity, and the humility to learn. You won't improve if you keep replaying the same behaviors every day. Growth requires discomfort. If you avoid eye contact, start holding it for a second longer. If you avoid introducing yourself, start doing it until it becomes natural. If you hesitate to share your thoughts, start expressing them in small doses. Push yourself just beyond what's comfortable. That's where development lives. The strongest connections are built with people who are present, and presence is a skill. It means you're not just physically there, you're mentally and emotionally engaged. That's rare. Most people are half distracted, half interested. Don't be like them. Be someone who makes others feel like they're the only person in the room. That presence is magnetic. People remember how you made them feel, far more than what you said. Be intentional about feedback. Ask people you trust what you could improve. Don't take criticism personally. Use it. If you talk too much, start practicing restraint. If you interrupt, train your patience. If you're too vague, work on clarity. One by one, you can fix the weaknesses that are holding you back, but only if you care enough to face them. Practice doesn't mean perfection. You will mess up. You'll say the wrong thing. You'll misread a situation. That's okay. What matters is how quickly you learn. Reflect after every interaction. Ask yourself what worked and what didn't. Replay it in your mind and adjust. That's how champions are made. Not through talent, but through trial, error, and reflection. Social mastery is not about being the loudest. It's about being the most adaptable. It's about knowing when to shift your tone, adjust your pace, or change your approach depending on who you're speaking to. And the only way to get good at that is to put yourself in diverse social situations. Talk to people from different backgrounds, different energy levels, different communication styles. Stretch your range. There's no finish line to social growth. Even the best communicators keep learning. They read body language, they study tone, they observe silence, they refine their delivery, they improve their timing. Why? Because people evolve. And to keep up, you must evolve too. You don't just study social skills once, you practice them for life. If you want to build influence, start by being relatable. You don't need to impress everyone. You need to connect. That means letting go of the mask. Show people who you are. Speak with honesty. Share your experiences. Use vulnerability strategically. When people feel your realness, they drop their defenses. That's where rapport is built. Not through charm, but through truth. Every day, treat your conversations like training sessions. Show up with intention. Think before you speak. Listen with your eyes. Respond with precision. And most importantly, leave people better than you found them. If you do that consistently, you won't just improve your social skills, you'll become someone others seek out, trust and follow. The more you grow in this area, the more doors will open. Opportunities are often locked behind interactions. One well-timed message, one powerful conversation, one honest expression of appreciation. These moments don't come from luck, they come from preparation. You never know which interaction could change your life. That's why daily practice matters. You don't have to become someone else. You don't need to pretend to be overly charismatic. You need to become the best version of yourself. Refined, aware, grounded. That version of you is built through effort, not ease, through commitment, not convenience. Be the person who listens deeply. Be the one who doesn't just hear but truly understands. Be the one who doesn't just talk but speaks with impact. Every time you bring that level of energy to an interaction, you elevate both people involved. That's real social power. There will be days when you don't feel like practicing. Days when you want to stay silent, when you want to hide. On those days, show up anyway. Say good morning to one person. Smile at a stranger. Compliment someone sincerely. These tiny actions add up. Over time, they reshape how you see yourself and how the world sees you. Social skills are not about manipulation. They're about mastery. Mastery of yourself. Mastery of emotion. Mastery of empathy. You're not trying to win people over. You're trying to meet people where they are. That takes heart. That takes discipline. And that takes daily effort. Start keeping a record. Track what you're working on. Celebrate small wins. Note where you need to improve. This kind of awareness keeps you engaged. It reminds you that growth is not abstract, it's measurable, and every step forward builds momentum. The people who succeed long-term are those who never stop evolving. They know that one great interaction can lead to a new friendship, a new opportunity, a new direction, and because they show up prepared, they make the most of it. You can become that person. One day, one interaction, one improvement at a time. If you want to feel more confident, develop the skills that give you confidence. If you want to be respected, learn how to communicate with clarity and respect. If you want to lead, start by connecting. Every social skill is a brick in the foundation of the life you want to build. So start laying bricks daily. You don't have to fix everything at once. Start with what's in front of you. Focus on becoming just a little more present, a little more patient, a little more expressive every day. That small focus, repeated over weeks and months, will create transformation. You won't just feel more socially confident, you'll be someone others admire for how you show up. Make this a lifelong commitment. Decide today that you will no longer settle for average interactions. Decide that you will train this skill, set the way an athlete trains their body, with discipline, attention, and passion. Because when you commit to improving your social skills daily, you commit to creating a life filled with connection, meaning, and impact. And that is a life worth building.